Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Windows Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley, episode 342, recorded for air Thursday, December 26th, 2013, our best of 2013. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Audible.com. To download a free audiobook of your choice, go to audible.com/windows. Hello, everybody. Leo Laporte. Boxing Day, the day after Christmas, and we thought we'd give Mary Jo and Paul a week off and take a look back at the best of Windows Weekly from the year 2013. We had a lot of fun. Paul and Mary Jo, lots of scoops. I would say 2013 was probably the biggest news year ever for Microsoft. Remember stories like this? Whatever it is you need, Mary Jo Foley and Paul Thurrott have it for you. Mary Jo Foley is, of course, a blogger at ZDNet. She's a true journalist. She's no blogger. She's a true journalist who writes the All About Microsoft blog at allaboutmicrosoft.com. Paul Thurrott, also true journalist. Well, sometimes I think that's demeaning to say that, isn't it? I don't. Just, you know, when you say blogger, that sounds.
I resisted the term blog and blogger for years and years and years.
Yeah,
and, because my site dates back to the early 1990s.
Yeah, I resist podcaster for the same reason.
Yeah,
it's diminutive.
When I started doing WinInfo, I used to send it out as a newsletter to teachers at a community college. And when I turned it into an internet newsletter, the guy who was hosting it for me said, you know, you can't copy portions of what other people write and then write something based on that. You have to write an original news article of your own. And because he was afraid we would get sued. And, of course, that is exactly what a blog is. You know, Bob over here at whatever publication wrote this, and here's a little bit of additional commentary, hit publish, and you've written a blog post, you know.
Ladies and gentlemen, here they are. Fresh, rested, relaxed, and ready after a couple of weeks off. Our New Year's babies, Paul Thurrott of the Microsoft Windows Supersite for Windows, Supersite, winsupersite.com, and Mary Jo Foley, all about Microsoft.com. Hello, kids. Did you have a good New Year's? Did you party? Yeah. Mary Jo, did you drink beer?
I did. And I even started a beer challenge on January 1.
All right. What is that?
I have to drink 40 styles of beer in 30 days.
This is, by the way, I'm sorry to interrupt, but this is the opposite of most people's New Year's resolution.
Most people, I am going to drink less beer. Mary Jo, I am going to drink more beer.
Yeah.
No, see, here's the trade-off, though. So to do that, it means I have to go to the gym a lot more. So it's helping inspire me to go to the gym to offset the beer.
It's a kind of a backhanded, I'm going to work out more resolution.
Yeah.
Got it. That makes
sense. That's incredible.
And what is your, Paul, what is your New Year's resolution? More Black Ops 2?
Yeah. No, I'd like to be more active this year than I have been.
Yeah, that's good. I'm building a gymnasium in my garage. I will probably drink less
beer as a result. You know, what are you doing?
I'm building a gymnasium in my garage.
Oh wow!
Nice.
Really?
I'm building one in my office.
Yeah, no. I may be wrong, because goodness knows there's a lot of eBay and Craigslist slightly used gym equipment.
Yeah, that's for sure.
but I think if it's right there, that I might use it more.
That's why I've got this thing behind me.
Common myth. Do you use that thing behind you a lot?
I use it every day.
Good for you. Hi, Paul Thurrott.
Hello, sir.
Hello, Paul Thurrott. Hello, Paul.
Hello, Leo. Hello, Leo.
This is going to be a big show today. Well, it comes back then to Ballmer, doesn't it? Not making those tough decisions.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm trying to, how do I push the foot around it? Yes.
It kind of does.
Yes.
Yep.
And that's probably the pitfall of having somebody who's sales focused, which he is and very good at, instead of technically focused. You know, Bill Gates would clearly have said, "No, this is." I'm sure he did. This is what it was probably Visual Basic at the time, but
sure.
Somebody needs to say, "This is it."
Yeah. You know, one encouraging thing. One encouraging thing to me going into 2013 is if you look at what's happening in Microsoft. It really does feel like it's now Steve Ballmer doing things differently, surrounding himself with people who are much more technical at the president level.
That's what he needs.
And maybe we're going to see the swing back a little bit more away from like all sales focused and now, coming back to a little more technology focused.
Good. I mean, you got to do both. No, there's no question you got to do both. But you got to do both. You can't just do one.
No.
Did you mention Hadoop?
Hadoop. How could I not mention Hadoop?
It's awfully high in the show notes.
It is. I had to get it in there.
It's right. It's right
early.
at the top.
Yeah. So another thing I think it could happen in 2013 is Hadoop on Windows Azure could go from test status to final status. Just like the Linux virtual machine capability on Azure, it's still just considered a preview at this point. And maybe in 2013 we'll see that go final too. So good news for people who can't deploy some of these things until they're out of beta.
And I see also something VM capabilities go final. Is that the Azure? Is that Azure?
Same. That's Azure. Yep.
Okay. And okay, got it. Moving on to the business division and Office. Is it too early to say that the Office 365, Office 2013 strategy has been a hit? I think I'm excited by it. I think it's
going to be one of the biggest things.
It's one of the areas where they're firing on all cylinders still
this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, this stuff's going to
so one of the very first things. I was going to say one of the very first things this year is Office, right? The Office launch is coming up soon. We don't know where and exactly when yet, but I think Paul's heard late October, perhaps. Late January, not October.
Yeah, very late
October,
January.
What?
It's been pushed back a little bit. No, it's right at the end of the month.
There's a certain irony to this being unqualified success, since there really isn't much new to do in Office, right? It's just, I guess, cloud is the only thing you could really
It's
add.
funny. We've been saying that for a while now, but the truth is, from a very basic level, we still type words into a word processing document or whatever. But the Office team has been the source of some surprising innovations over the year, given that assumption. And the ribbon UI, I think, would be one of them, obviously, where we all sort of assumed the UIs for this kinds of app, was done years ago.
Right.
And then I think moving this stuff to the cloud is also a very big deal, because people are very invested in Office in ways that I think transcends even their investment in Windows. Office today is Microsoft's single biggest business.
Right.
That could change, but I bet it doesn't. I think Office is still going to be the heart of Microsoft, and because they're so productivity oriented. So moving this stuff to the cloud in a very effective manner is a big deal.
Remember there's been all these rumors about Asus doing a 7-inch Windows RT tablet, I think it is, or is it Windows 8? I can't remember. So maybe that's what this is, right? Maybe this is like the mini tablet that is going to let you also make calls.
Interesting.
This could be that. And what if this runs Blue, right? The next version of Windows that we keep hearing about throughout, right?
Maybe that's what Blue is.
Maybe that's what Blue is, right? I mean, there were rumors Blue was optimized for 7-inch form factor. So, but the thing we don't know is, what is the 7-inch form factor? Is it a combined phone and a tablet? And I actually was at the National Retail Federation show. Well, I didn't go to the show, but I met with some of the companies there this week here in New York, and I met with the Windows Embedded team, which was interesting, because I asked them. I said, could an OEM, any OEM, actually license the Windows any of the Windows embedded operating systems or Windows Phone and put that on a tablet? And they said no. They said Microsoft is telling OEMs who want to put some version of Windows on a tablet to talk to the Windows team and license it from them. So, a lot of people thinking maybe they're going to put Windows Phone as the operating system on these. I think no. I think it's going to be some variant of Windows, but not Windows Phone operating system.
So I'm not so far off base. I thought you guys would mock me.
I think you're right. I think you're right on.
I think that's where the
How hard
market's
would it be
headed.
to add a phone calling app to
It's trivial.
any of these
Or
things?
what if it's
RT,
just
whatever.
Skype? What if Skype is
Well,
the
that's
phone?
what somebody said. It was, Apple has FaceTime, or you could put Skype on here, and Microsoft has Skype. You could easily do that. I think, though, that there's still now this is vestigial and probably will go away, so you're right in the long run. Who needs a phone company? Just need data. But for the time being, people still want a phone number and they want text messaging via SMS, but that's fading out. I don't think that that's going to be around for that much longer. 10 years.
Yeah, it's going to be all IP based.
It'll be all IP.
It's going to be all IP. Everything's going to be IP.
And you know, the carriers know that. That's why they're building out LTE. LTE is an IP network.
Right.
They don't care. They don't care if you make voice calls. They just want you to buy, mobile data. That's what. Unlike the cable companies who don't like being in the data business, the phone companies, I think, get it. They know they're in the data business. Mobile data, and then it doesn't matter. Then you just want a device that you can do all of that on. And the Mini is small enough. I guess for me, these 7-inch tablets are a good form factor. I wouldn't want to carry a 10-inch tablet or an RT, Surface RT around all the time. But this is small enough that it's not such a big deal. I'd have to get a Merce.
A Merce?
A man purse.
Yes. You would.
I have resisted the allure of the man purse, Leo.
Okay, another prediction.
Also going to wear shorts with socks.
In the year 2020, it will be acceptable for men to carry purses. Just a prediction.
Wow.
It's either that or like strap-on, holsters for.
I'm more interested in strapping on, Leo.
Oh boy.
So Surface Pro arrives on Friday, but both Paul and Mary Jo have already been playing with it. I presume now that the NDA is up, you can speak of this. Yeah, and you've had it for a couple of weeks, so you have a pretty good sense.
We can speak of it.
First of all, I guess the big question is battery life, right? Isn't that what everybody wants to know?
Yeah, that's not great.
No, it's what everyone thought it was, which is 4 to 5 hours.
Well, it's not awful. That's laptop life, right?
Right.
Yeah,
it's
but
tablet life.
I've been using Ultrabooks for a while. I mean, I have a big 15-inch Ultrabook that gets 6.5 to 7 hours of battery life.
Yeah.
When you get used to that kind of battery life, it feels like going back in time.
Yeah.
Having to think about it like this, having to worry about battery life.
You're kind of spoiled.
Yeah. I haven't tested this yet, and I know some people probably have, but I'm interested to see whether it supports any form of fast charging where you can plug it in for less than an hour and have it, zoom up some huge percentage of time again. That would be helpful, obviously, but it's not going to help you on a flight. If you're going cross country across the ocean or whatever, 4.5, 5 hours. And I guess, it's different on different scenarios too, and I've not tested it this way, but one thing I've noticed, just sort of anecdotally, is that if you play a movie in like a desktop video player, the battery life is way worse than if you use like the Xbox Video app, the Metro app.
Well, that's good in a way. That means something you could fine tune, right?
Well, something you play. I mean, that's obviously you have your choice of video apps, but I mean, in some cases,
they could fix that, though. I mean,
the only fix for this is going to be a new device.
Oh dear,
I think.
Although they've hinted that there are things they can do with an update to the operating system that might affect the battery life. They've kind of been hinting that.
I bet that won't be dramatic. Actually, I should say, they also hinted that there are additional pins on the what they're now calling the accessory spine connector, the key, where the keyboard connects. And it's not hard to imagine a slightly thicker keyboard cover that had a battery in it, or something that looked just like the keyboard cover but was just battery that you could kind of carry with you and swap out as needed. So maybe they'll do something like that. But honestly, this device, I think, given the sort of highly portable nature of it, it's kind of tough to picture, plugging on additional things. Kind of like when you have a smartphone and you get one of those, I don't know what they call them, like a backpack battery that kind of makes the thing much bigger, but finally lets you use the thing all day. That's a compromise of its own kind.
Yeah, it makes it heavier and thicker, and we don't really want that either.
Yeah. Although they actually did a really good Ask Me Anything on Reddit yesterday.
I saw that. I thought that was cool that they did that.
It was really good. And they did. They talked. I'm holding up my Surface right now. And right next to where the magnets are, there are these two weird little connectors. And that's what they were talking about. Like, and they were pretty much hinting, like, we've got some things coming that might help you with your battery life on this. So.
Yeah, there are little connection plates in there that don't exist in the RT version.
Are they
And so
pogo pins? Are they? Is that what they are?
I think that was the term they used.
Yeah, that's what they said.
So maybe new kinds of keyboard cases, maybe even a dock. Whatever the different possibilities.
I am Panos Panay, though. He did it.
Yeah.
That's neat. I think that is an interesting way to acknowledge the geek crowd. It certainly does not reach out to CIOs.
Well, but these are the people who are raising these issues.
Exactly.
In other words, the battery life issue, the amount of storage space left on each of the systems is not an issue.
That's been a little controversial too.
But also only within tech circles. It's the type of thing that normal people won't understand or care about. And frankly,
but what happens is that normal people see a headline or their geek friend says, "Oh yeah, I'm a little disappointed by the amount of free space," and then that becomes canon, and it becomes without explanation, like there's low free space on the Surface Pro.
I had a reader tell me via email that they went into Best Buy to find out if there were going to be Surface Pro pre-orders. And they were told that Surface Pro had been delayed because it only had 23 gigabytes of usable space, and they had to fix that problem.
Oh, exactly, right? Exactly.
Yeah, it's like, oh boy, here we go.
That's how this, it's a game of telephone.
You wonder why they're starting Microsoft stores.
So, well, let's nail it. What is the free space, and what is the story?
Well, if I understand that from that chat, it's about 10 gigabytes more than what was previously reported. So I think off the top of my head, I think it was 23 gigs free on the 64 and 83-ish on the 128, something like that. So it's actually, you could find it in there somewhere.
Says Fecal Face, nice name, says, this is why I love Reddit, says,
Why did you allocate the storage space the way you did? Surely you could have anticipated the bad press you're currently getting for shipping with relatively low free storage space. Then many respond. Let's Giant Panda.
Well, jump down to the Surf.
Jeez, the names are horrendous.
Don't.
Yeah.
The
Just
Surface
look for
guys.
Surface Team. Look for Surface Team. That's it. Don't look at anything else.
Don't look at anything else. All right, I'm just going to backspace because they actually synopsized, knowing this would happen, right at the top there. We designed Surface Pro and the allocation of disk space in our systems to have the power of full Windows 8.
All right, so anyway, the bottom line is...
I'm reading. I don't see anything yet about memory. 7 gigs. 7 gigs.
Of additional free space over what was previously reported, plus...
So, well, wait a minute, though. There's 23 gigs available on a 64 gig machine.
Right.
Is that right? There's 83 gigs available on the 128 gig system.
Yep. Well, it's actually 6 to 7 gigs.
More than that. So it's 30 on a 64, but it's still less than half.
Right.
But-
They talked on Reddit about some people said, why do you have the disk recovery image in there? Like, why didn't you just put that on a flash drive? Like, why did you guys include that? And they said, we were afraid people might lose the flash drive. And if you want to do that, you can do that yourself.
That's true. So you could eliminate it and then add another few gigs.
Let me show you. You've seen this before, Leo. This is the little flash drive that Apple.
Yeah.
And you can understand.
By the way, they don't include it anymore.
Okay, but this is what people are asking for. In other words, why don't you just throw this in the box?
Right.
If you had something like this, which is teeny.
And bootable, by the way, which is a good thing to have.
Yeah. This would save several gigabytes of space. Well, I don't remember the exact
Not
figure.
a huge amount, though.
No, but it's a huge amount when you're talking about 64 gig with only 30 free. I mean, as a percentage, that could make a big difference.
So it's roughly 34 to 38 gigs of something on that drive. That's Windows itself, which is what? How big? 7, 8?
Well, installed. I'm not actually. I think I would know that off the top of my head. I'm not actually positive. It's Windows and a few apps. It's the recovery partition, the recovery image.
I guess here's the more germane question. Is there enough room on it for you to install Office? It comes with Office, right?
No, it does not.
Oh, it does not. All right. Is there enough room for you to install what you need and still have enough free space to get work done? I presume that one of the reasons they don't care is because they hope that you'll use SkyDrive for storage.
Yeah. Honestly, I think most people who buy a Pro device are going to want the 128 gigs. Yeah. 128 gigs, anyone who went SSD early knows that 64 gig was the initial allotment we got. Not enough. and 128 made it pretty comfortable. And you know, and I can look on mine right now. I think I wrote about this today, but you know, I have 33 gigabytes free out of 110. It reports, and I've loaded this thing up. I've got my complete SkyDrive allotment syncing to it. I didn't, you know, only sync little parts of it or whatever. It's everything I do through SkyDrive. All the apps I use, Photoshop, you know, iTunes, Office, whatever, is all on there. And I think that's the comfort point for most people. I think that the types of people that would be drawn to this device are going to want the 128 version. The other thing to remember is that this thing has micro SD expansion. You can add 64 gigs for whatever the price of a micro SD card is. And easily.
That's good to know. All right.
Yeah,
well, that's
and you can swap that. Of course, you can swap that out. So if you you have movies or other content, you know, that stuff doesn't have to sit on the disk, on the internal disk. You can plug in USB storage if you want as well. So it's not a complete dead end that you know people are making it out to be.
That's not bad, actually. I didn't realize you could put an SD card in there.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yep.
Battery life, we've already addressed that a little bit.
Yeah, Mary Jo, do you have both of those devices nearby?
I do.
Let's see the thickness here.
Yeah, why don't you show them the thickness difference? I'd show you mine, but it's plugged into like 30 different cables. You know?
Yeah.
So let's see. The top here is the Surface Pro.
A little higher with the
bottom.
RT there. A little higher.
Yep.
Go up with the IT, down with the Pro. Down, up with the RT. Bottom one up, top one, there you go.
Top one is the Pro.
So
bottom one is
it's what, 50% thicker? Something like that?
It actually isn't that much thicker, but it's amazing how much thicker it does look.
Yeah, it does.
and feel.
You know?
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's only 2 pounds, but because it's in this smaller size package, it's very dense. Like when you pick it up, you're like, whoa, you know? And that to me is the one thing that limits it as an entertainment tablet, because like reading on that, it would get really heavy fast in your hand if you actually tried to do that. If you put it on your lap, okay, not so much.
Yeah.
I'm going to write a Magnum PI movie script.
Hey, there's a good idea. How about your software pick of the... Oh, I got to download it right now. I keep forgetting. Twitter is here.
So, yeah, Twitter for Windows 8.
After I paid, what was it, $10 for Tweetro? Or
Yikes.
what was it that you told me to buy?
Yeah.
Oh, whoa.
Metro Twit? You told me to buy Metro Twit, and I did.
No, Metro Twit's great.
But it was $10, and now I can get the free. Well, is this better? The new Twitter, is it free? I mean, is it better? It is free.
It's kind of the quintessential Metro app in that it has all of the good and bad stuff about Metro apps. You know, so Twitter seems to be in love with like this one column view, whereas a lot of Twitter third-party solutions have multi-column views. But the one nice thing about this app, I have to say, it looks a lot like the Windows Phone app, which I like. It really works well in snap mode, and so if you want to snap Twitter onto the side, and that's sort of the way I think a lot of
key.
people.
Oh yeah. That's absolutely key.
It works really well like that. So it's a quick app.
Is this it? The blue one?
Yep. Yeah.
It's
got
Twitter.
a bird.
Yeah, it's got a bird.
Yeah.
Installed. There's something right under it called Twitter Pro, but that's not from Twitter. This is the official Twitter app.
Yeah, this is it just came out yesterday.
Yeah. I'm so excited.
It's a good one. It's nice.
Twitter was installed. Oh, this is very exciting. Oh, look, I get the birdie and everything. Birdie. Authorize app. It even remembers my login, so I don't need to re-log in.
Yeah, it must tie into the Internet Explorer save password thing.
Yeah. Cool. And now I can swipe this over to the edge and whoops. Yeah. Oh, Popeye. Where do I swipe? From the left or the right?
I would pull it down from the top.
Okay, and then
down from the top.
Pull it down from the top and then move it over.
And then move it over. Yeah.
It's
you got to start the pull not on the screen, not above the screen.
Oh, on the screen, but not above it.
The top. Right near the top. You got to. So it's kind of
it's out.
It's kind of a tap and hold method.
There, I got it. Release to refresh. No, that's not what I want. I'm sure I'll figure it out. Go on with the next.
I'm done. Mary Jo's up. So.
Hi, Mary Jo.
These are our problems now, Mary Jo.
I feel an operating system shouldn't make you feel.
This is the moment when the parents realize maybe we don't have a little PhD on our hands.
An operating
operating system should not make you feel disabled in some way, like some sort of developmental issues going on here.
That is a beautiful synopsis of Windows 8. Right there. Yep.
I can't figure it out, Paul, but I'm excited about this new Matlock show.
Remember that you can also use the mouse to do this. You could use the little mouse cursor, and it turns into a hamburger helper hand, and you can pull it down. And
a hamburger helper hand.
It does. I promise you it does.
No, it's not. Oh, there it is. But that's a small target. Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, baby. Yeah, baby. Yay! It worked. This is the nice thing about Windows 8. You feel like such a success when you get it to do it.
It's the struggle that defines us, Leo.
Yeah, the powerful. So now I have this. This is good. This is exactly how it should be.
Yeah, it's nice.
I don't know what this thing is, but
you can do anything you want. So hit the start button, and then hit like alt start button.
Open OneNote because that's hey, now they're together at last. Two great tastes in one screen. This is, you could almost do this like have like two different windows on the screen, and you could go back. Wouldn't that be cool?
Maybe in version 9, Leo.
Oh, I got another idea. I could take data from one screen and put it in the other screen. We could call it like, I don't know. We could cut it and paste.
Olay or DDE for you old timers.
DDE. I remember that.
Win 16, it's the future.
Mary Jo Foley, can you give me an enterprise pick of the week? It's actually aptly named. It's time for a roll-up. Is it a fruit roll-up, Mary Jo?
It is not a fruit.
Matlock.
MacGyver.
Leo MacGyver. It is not.
It's a new pool game Paul and I have invented. We'll sit in the pool. We won't swim because that's dangerous. You could have a heart attack. And you shout MacGyver, and I'll shout Matlock.
There you go.
What about it, Paul? It'd be great.
Paul's crying now. Paul's crying.
I'm sorry.
What is this? The Windows 7 hotfix roll-up?
Yeah, enterprise pick of the week. Woohoo! The roll-up.
His camera's actually
Paul,
jiggling.
stop.
His
Paul,
camera's
stop.
actually jiggling. Matlock! Matlock! If your head's not underwater, Paul, you have to say MacGyver.
Okay.
You can't breathe now.
Go ahead, Mary Jo. I'll just mute his microphone.
Mute him. Mute him.
Matlock!
He's underwater. Down. Okay.
He's just, you know what? He's punchy. He's been in Redmond for 2 days.
That explains it.
I'm okay.
Okay. Go ahead, Mary Jo. We've composed ourselves.
Let's talk about the slow boot, slow login hotfix.
What?
Yeah. So this is a roll up that came out on Patch Tuesday this week. It was kind of a hidden one because it's not a security one, but what it is it's almost like a service pack, even though they don't want to call it a service pack. It's 90 hotfixes in this one roll up.
Whoa.
And it's huge.
Stephen, you found a lot of references to Blue in Blue, so it's but they're not going to use that name, Blue.
No, they're definitely not. One thing that is interesting to me with this whole Windows 8 beginning to look, more like mobile or Windows Phone is I also think they're going to take it in the direction of Xbox as well, the next Xbox, for like one unified user interface between all their major products, and maybe even to the extent of apps between all of them. So that got me looking for things in this build related to, Xbox or the next Xbox or whatever. Unfortunately, I didn't find anything, but that's one sort of vision I'm, keeping an eye on. So
I think he's right on that. Even when Windows Phone 7 first shipped about, less than 2 years ago, no, I'm sorry, over 2 years ago, they were talking up this notion that Stephen's talking about in a less developed form, which was that, in fact, they showed a game where they said, this is a game that was written in XNA, It was written for the Xbox. It was ported very easily to Windows using XNA. And now, because Windows Phone at the time supported XNA for games, it was ported to Windows Phone. And they talked about the differences and how they didn't really have to rewrite that much.
Thank goodness they kept XNA around for that.
Well, no, but flash forward to the current situation.
Is there another way to do it now?
Yeah, there is. So they in Windows 8.
That's a really good move on their part.
No, they have actually
better. Something better.
I don't know if it's better, but a different, better, presumably, DirectX/C++ API. And that's actually the one area where Windows Phone apps, really games, but let's just say apps, and Windows 8 apps can be basically the same exact thing. That there are very minor changes you might have to make to the phone version of that app or game, usually along the lines of scaling the screen to the resolutions that Windows Phone supports and so on. But that transition is very easy now. And if Steven's right, and I think he is, that the next Xbox will support this as well.
And it doesn't become like a lowest common denominator where you...
Well, no, hopefully what you have is some 95 or 90% of the app or game that's the same, and then you rewrite parts of it for the specifics of the target. And so maybe the Xbox version could support voice control and Kinect, or a hand controller. The phone and the tablet version of the game could be multi-touch, that kind of thing.
And we've already had hints about this happening with Windows 8 and Windows Phone. They've been talking about the Write Once Anywhere idea and how they've already taken into account the different screen resolutions. So it's just something they can kind of do it in a fairly easy and not easy, but more minor way. That they're trying to make it so if you're a developer and you want to target both platforms, it gets way easier to do that.
Okay, I'm going to interpret this as capitulation from Microsoft. Is that fair? Is that fair, Mary Jo?
Can I give the whole backstory of this?
Yeah, I'd love to hear it, actually.
Because I've seen so many interpretations of this story that I wrote, that have taken it way, way out of context. So I want to tell you the context. So over this past weekend, there were a couple of sites that were tinkering around in the Windows Blue leaked code, and they saw some things that looked like references to boot to the desktop. And so people were saying, I wonder if boot to the desktop is coming back. Is Microsoft actually going to make that something you could install optionally and all? So I went to I have one source who's been 100% accurate so far on everything he has told me about Windows Blue. I went to him and I said, so is boot to desktop coming back as an option? He said, yeah, it is. And so is start button.
Whoa.
And, I know. I was like, wait, what? Start button?
Did you fall out of your chair?
I did, pretty much. Yeah, because nobody thought that would come back. And so here's the context.
Because Microsoft was pretty adamant about not doing this.
Right. This is one person who's very accurate, but still one person saying this. And also kind of hedged it saying, until Blue ships, anything can change. So this may not happen. And I tried to be very clear about that it's something they're kicking around inside. Maybe some people have it installed in a private test build and they're looking at it. But I think my guess is they're kind of throwing this out there as a trial balloon and saying, let's see what people say if we were to do this. Would they be happy we're doing this or upset?
Who would be upset? Come on.
There are a lot of people who are upset.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, no, there are people who would be upset about that.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Well, actually, let me fill in a couple of things that I've heard about this because I contacted Mary Jo when she wrote this, and I said, are you sure about this? I mean, this doesn't this doesn't make any sense.
They swore they would never do this.
So, Raphael looked at the currently leaked bills to see if there was any indication that this could in fact be changed into something where you could skip the start screen and boot to the desktop, and was unable to get that to happen. However, separately, I've learned that both of those things that she said are in fact true, and that as a bit of nuance, I can tell you that the decision to return the start button, not the start menu, by the way, right, but the start button, came down from on high, that this was in fact pushed down to the Windows team by upper management, who said, you are going to do this, figure it out. And
would you clarify the difference between start button and start menu?
Well, it's just the little interface, the button in the corner on the taskbar.
But it pops up a menu, or does it bring you to the
Well, it would bring you to the start screen.
Oh, so it's not a start menu. It's just we're adding a button that brings you to the start screen. Okay.
So what I was told was that that button is not something we're going to see in whatever preview build we get this summer, that this is something that comes later because it was basically kind of inflicted on them. And I think there's some...
They're not happy, it sounds like.
No, and you have to give Microsoft a little credit for the decision they made originally because they were very decisive about it, right? And I think that's what Mary Jo's alluding to, that there are people who will not be happy with this design because historically the way Microsoft has always made these things is they give you some new interface, like the desktop in Windows 95 or the new start menu that was in Windows XP at the time, but they give you a way to go back. Even if it's hidden, even if it's not obvious, you can go back to the previous interface. So in XP, you could turn on the classic start menu. And they didn't do it this time. And I think there are some purists, like Mary Jo says, who...
and Metro developers, probably, right? That would be who would be the most hurt by this.
Yeah.
I don't know hurt, but...
Yeah, that's what keeps coming up, though. People are like, so, okay, if they do this, if they make boot to desktop an option, who would develop for Metro? But I disagree with that. I think people still will, because this is the corporate edict and this is where they're going. But this if they end up doing this boot to desktop and start button return, I think it's more like a bridge, right? It's saying, okay, we got a little too far ahead of the customers, especially the business customers. And, XP is about to go out of support next year. So there are still a lot of businesses running Windows XP, and they're scared of Windows 8 because the user interface requires a ton of retraining. So what do? We give these guys an olive branch and say, okay, you can set up boot to desktop. We'll put the start button back. And now will you guys upgrade to Windows 8? Come on.
Please.
That's kind of what I think is happening.
Yeah. I've also heard of the possibility that this change will only occur in the business-oriented versions of Windows 8, that the core version won't get this change, and that the Pro and Enterprise versions will. And that kind of correlates to what she just said about doing this for businesses, for those businesses that aren't interested in upgrading.
Some people feel like flip-flopping is a bad thing, but it's worse thing to not acknowledge if the mistake has been made, to not acknowledge it.
Flip-flopping is a tough term because it's flip-flopping to me means I said yes, and then I said no, and then I said yes again. Not I changed my mind. I mean, I think that given evidence that contradicts what you previously thought, it's okay to change your mind. I mean, this one's tough for me because I do feel that they made the right decision to get rid of those interfaces. Although I think it's also odd that for the first time in the history of Windows, really, that they made such a major change and didn't provide people with even a hidden way, like a registry-based way of going back to the old UI. So it's a tough one. I'm not really, where do you fall on it? What do you think, Mary Jo? Is this the right thing to do? I mean,
this is like the most awesome thing they could ever do, to me.
So you're not positive if it's a good idea.
Yeah, I've been saying on Twitter, I'm like, if they make boot to the desktop a default option, I will install Windows 8 on my desktop. Right now, no way. So this week, Microsoft announced they were looking for beta testers for a Facebook app for Windows Phone 8. And this is an app we think Microsoft itself is still building, and with consultation from Facebook.
There's no Facebook app on Windows Phone 8?
There is a Facebook app that a consulting company developed for the Windows Phone 7.x. And so Microsoft's now testing the Windows Phone 8 version.
Got it.
When people saw it, there was a lot of surprise because this app doesn't have some of the Metro-style navigation capabilities that people had come to expect from a Windows Phone app. So, of course, people are saying, what's this mean? Are they backing away from Metro? Is this like Microsoft cutting corners? Or are they going to say to developers now, hey, you know what? You don't have to do Metro-style. We just want your app. And this was compounded today when Untapped also came out with their final version for Windows Phone 8. Again, it doesn't look anything like a Metro-style app.
This is the Mary Jo part of the story.
I still haven't gotten.
It doesn't look like a Windows. That's weird.
No. We're going to talk more about Untapped later in the show, but
I have a theory about this.
Yeah, I want to hear your theory on this. Why this is happening?
So first, Leo, you should go if you go to WinSuper. I should have linked to this in the notes. I apologize. Okay. If you go to winsupersite.com, the second article down is called "Why is the Facebook beta app for Windows Phone 8 identical to the Android and iOS apps?" For which I win award for the longest blog post title of all time. And if you scroll down to the third screenshot, you can see the Windows Phone beta, the Android and the iOS versions of the Facebook app side by side. And what you will notice is that they were virtually identical.
Yeah.
Now, it's even worse than those screenshots sort of suggest, because if you're familiar with the way that Facebook works on iOS or Android, you know that you can slide in from the left to get a menu of items, and you can slide in from the right to do chat.
Right.
And that also works exactly the same way on Windows Phone. Now, that is not how Metro apps look or work on Windows Phone. It's just not. And the fact that Microsoft allegedly made this app, to me, is very suspicious. And why would they do this?
Because Mark Zuckerberg said he wanted it that way. And he said, if you want to do an app, if you want to do a Facebook app, this is what it's going to look like. Because we want a consistent experience. We don't care about your consistent experience at Microsoft. We care about our consistent experience. But Microsoft has to stand up to them. Somebody in the chat room said this, and I agree. And just as Apple would, and say no.
Except for one thing. So Apple has, 40% of the smartphone market or whatever it is, a huge figure.
Yeah.
Microsoft is like 3.
Yeah.
So
it's a clout thing.
Yeah. So, but this will amaze you given my general demeanor. But rather than look at this as a major capitulation, the silver lining to this, I think, is this. The strength of Windows Phone is not the way that the Metro-style stuff looks in apps. It's the integrated experiences you get in the platform itself. It's the OS. Right. It's the fact that you often don't have to go into apps to get stuff done. Or that if you want to post to a social networking service, you can do it through the People Hub or the Me interface, and you don't have to really think, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever. If you want to play with photos, do something with photos, you go in the Photos Hub. If you want to play a game, you go into games. Like, you don't have to think about what it is exactly you're doing and then where that thing would be in the phone. I think it's the fundamental strength or superiority of Windows Phone compared to these other things. The apps almost don't matter. And so if someone like Facebook wants to brand the app like their stuff to the expense of Metro, I actually don't think that's necessarily a huge deal. But more to the point, the people who really make these apps, I don't actually think Microsoft made this. I bet that they are essentially farming this out to some third party, and that there's some sort of cross-platform designer tool or whatever that they're using.
Oh, that might be, sure.
To make this happen.
Sure.
If this allows apps to appear on Windows Phone more quickly, and as important, be updated more quickly, then this is A-OK. Because the problem with Facebook, specifically on Windows Phone, is that the built-in functionality is not complete. So, for example, you can check in from Windows Phone to Facebook, but you can't check in other people, and you can't post a photo as part of the check-in. You need the app for that stuff. But as Facebook updates their mobile apps, the Windows Phone app has lagged behind the other apps in the past. So it's always been kind of a second-rate thing in some ways for various reasons, whether you're using the app itself or the built-in experience. And so if this leads to more of a parity with the apps on other platforms, I think this is an A-OK thing to give up. Because the inherent advantages of the platform remain in place, because it's the OS.
You know what else? I've been thinking more about this too is, Microsoft's trying to get users from iOS and Android to move over to Windows Phone. So they've already probably been using Facebook on those phones, and when they move over to Windows Phone, they don't want to have to relearn the whole experience and have something look really different, right? Yeah. I mean, on Tap, that was the case too. They started out on iOS and Android, and now the app that they did for Windows Phone looks almost identical to that.
But it's an opportunity missed for Microsoft, because if you get somebody moving from Android to Windows Phone, and of course they're going to install the Facebook app, and it's slightly different, but it says this is how we do it in Metro, and look how great it is. It's an opportunity for Microsoft. Now, admittedly, Facebook couldn't care less, but I think from Microsoft's point of view, it would be desirable for them to use this as a lever into Metro.
You know, I wonder if Facebook doesn't care less. I kind of wonder if Facebook didn't kind of say to Microsoft, hey, you know what? This is how Facebook design principles are.
Right. No, that's what I think.
Yeah.
And so it was probably a battle, right?
Yeah, maybe a battle.
I don't think it was much of a battle. You know,
it's a short battle.
I think it was more like, so if you want this to happen, this is how you're doing it.
Yeah, because it's pretty obvious what happened.
Yeah. And on Tap's case, I know because I talked to them today about this. They said they used Phone Gap to move the app over.
Well, so there you go.
That explains that, right? So, you know, they're going to just take the code base and try to port over it as much as.
So, what would you rather have then? I mean, you know, the situation with Windows Phone till now has been, is the app I want available on Windows Phone? Oftentimes, no. And then the argument is always, well, but we have these crazy apps that other people created that are something like that app. Like we don't have Instagram, but we have Bobstagram or whatever that, you know, will sort of, you know, makes a Polaroid of something or you know, actually Untapped is a good example. We had an app called, you know, Beer, which we recommended previously. That works okay, you know, but, you know, do you want that official app? Do you want the real thing? And if you do, isn't it better just to have it than to take a stand over some arbitrary design guideline that maybe doesn't make sense anyway?
There's a precedent for this though, and that's Java. In the early days of Java, you would write a program. It was the whole point was write once, read many, you know, be on many platforms. But it all looked like Java. None of it looked native ever.
Well, but do you remember they did do that native control thing?
Then they did Swing.
Yeah, which was kind of hokey.
It didn't work so good. We've seen this before, and by the way, people turn their backs against the non-native feel of Java. I still do. Yeah. When I download, because somebody well, I won't name names, but there are programs out there where they don't have the development resources to do a native version. So they do one of two things. They do it in Java, or worse, they do it in Adobe Air.
I'd actually never really minded Adobe Air.
Well, but it has the same benefit. It gives you apps on the platform, even if they're not really native.
Yep.
So I think that's what you get, is you get kind of this unhappy medium.
And does Facebook own Instagram?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, you know, I think it's reasonable to speculate that this might have been part of the little argument too. It's like, hey, we hear you guys want Instagram.
Yeah, you watch. Well, you'll know if Instagram suddenly appears.
Yeah, we could make that happen.
Yeah.
But guess what? It's going to look like. It's going to look like Instagram on iOS or Android. You know,
the Instagram app on iOS is run independently of Facebook.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. And I understand the team is pretty independent. They didn't want to screw around with success. So I could see Instagram doing a Metro interface. Somebody in the chat room just mentioned that in build 8.1, the new build, that photosynth is built into the camera.
Yeah, that's another tip from the Walking Cat on Twitter, which is pretty interesting if it's the case. I'm sure it is if he said it.
I don't have it on the PC yet, so I'll have to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, Photosynth, the Microsoft photo stitching app, gets built into the camera. That would be interesting. And not too surprising.
That's bundling. Call the EU.
Yeah, more bundled things. But in this case, that would be cool.
They're going to destroy the market for panorama apps.
This would be a good bundling and not a bad bundling.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
We like this bundle.
Okay. Well, and that's what kind of I'm sitting there thinking, well, I'm kind of negative about lots of things that they do, but I think that's called being critical, you know, critical thinking. That's called, and my job is not to make nice for Google, nor is it your job to make nice for Microsoft. Our jobs is to make sure companies give users, we represent users, not companies.
And you know, if everything is awesome, and if we say everything is awesome, what motivation is there to make anything better?
True.
Well, if everything were awesome, I would say it. Fortunately, we're not even close.
Yeah, and you know, if Google were actually opening up every API and making it freely available to everyone, then yeah, okay, then they could say, see, do what we're doing. But that's not what they're doing, right? I mean, they criticize Microsoft for Microsoft building Google Talk integration into Outlook.com using their own APIs that Google made available. And they said, you know, wow, they took advantage of what we're making available. Well, you made them available, so why is that taking advantage, right?
That's like the point. That's why you have APIs.
Right.
I know.
So that people can use them and do stuff.
Right. So I feel like if Larry Page were being genuine and really saying what he was doing, really doing what he was saying, then I think, yeah, okay, stop the negativity. But they're, both Microsoft and Google are doing backhanded things. It's just it's the way of tech.
Yeah. And it's not our job to say, let's not be negative. Let's look on the bright side. In fact, sometimes if there's a flaw in the tech press, it's that there are people like Robert Scoble who just love everything.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's useful for anybody, including Google, Microsoft, Apple. Just as you point out, if people didn't say the Q was a piece of crap, Google might have actually released it. We saved them a lot of money. Although it was so apparently bad. When they announced it last year, Google I/O, I said, "No one. That's what? That's at that price? No, that's crazy."
Yeah. That one was like, how did this get this far?
Yeah, I did enjoy it because Scoble, I don't know how, but he got right to the microphone when Larry Page took questions.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Scoble was camping there since the night before. He was right in the front of the line, and he said, I'm one of the first. I'm a glass pioneer. And Larry said, yeah, I saw that picture of you in the shower. And he did not seem, Larry was not.
I'm happy.
It seemed like he didn't really, he was kind of like, yeah. No.
I don't think he was turned on by it.
No, it didn't turn him on. It wasn't the negativity, it was the nudity.
Yeah. I think more negativity about naked Scoble.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I think that's why Larry Page was sad. He was a sad man.
He made him sad.
Yes. I don't know. Traveling doesn't get easier when you get older, I've noticed.
Yeah, no kidding. For those who didn't see the video, there's a Twit Live special which was pulled by Electronic Arts, so I can't show you that.
Oops.
But
we don't want anyone promoting our games, Leo.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was the content, the content ID on YouTube. I think we've appealed it, but in case we didn't. But here, for those of you
who
missed it,
I would cut it out, put a little thing in that says...
Ladies and gentlemen,
here's the
introducing
in 2 minutes
Xbox One.
The entire Xbox One reveal, so you can see it all.
TV experience. TV and movies. TV. Xbox. Watch TV. 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 Watch TV. 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 TV remote. TV experience. TV. 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 Sports TV. 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 Anybody? TV, TV, MTV, TV, 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 TV. Xbox, go home.
TV, 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 TV.
Sports, 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 sports.
Sport, television. Television, TV, television.
Television, 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 TV, TV, TV. Xbox is about to become the next water cooler. Sports,
television, television, television.
It's the same size.
I'm thrilled to announce a live-action Halo television series.
Television, TV, sports, sports, sport.
Television,
TV.
TV, TV, TV. For Call of Duty.
Call of Duty, Call of Duty, Call of Duty. An entirely new Call of Duty for the next generation. Call of Duty, Call of Duty, Call of Duty, Call of Duty,
Call of Duty, Call of Duty. One of the fascinating new additions to your squad is a dog. This is someone you care about. Call of Duty, Call of Duty, Call of Duty, Call of Duty, Call of Duty.
That's the jump the shark moment.
Call of Duty. All of the new storyline. Call of Duty.
Call of Duty, Call of Duty, Call of Duty, Call of Duty, Call of Duty.
Our new dog model is taken from high-resolution scans of an actual SEAL team service dog.
Call of Duty, Call of Duty, Call of Duty.
Xbox, go home.
That was it, the entire...
So a couple things.
Yes, the highlights. By the way, credit to Dark Beat DK.
That's brilliant. By the way, that little clip is brilliant.
It's kind of, it was a joke, but it also says a little bit about what this was about.
Yes, it does. But and two comments specifically to the TV thing. Obviously, no, maybe not obviously. They're doing a staged introduction for this console. So this was stage 1 of 3, right? So the next stage is the game stuff. A lot of the people who like the Xbox for gaming, right, the hardcore gamers.
They'll be at
E3. But they were disappointed by this event because there wasn't a lot about games.
Right.
And I think people need to put this in perspective that this is, stage 1 of 3. Stage 2 is the game. So don't freak out about that. Clearly, they're pushing the live TV thing as the differentiator because any box can have Netflix. Any box can have Hulu. You're going to pay $500 to get this thing. Obviously, it plays video games. But why would anyone buy this if they're not big video game players? TV. I actually believe that when this console generation is over, in the same way that when we look back to the beginning of the Xbox 360, and we think about how much things have changed since then, that TV feature will be the single most uninteresting thing that they pushed about that. I mean this because what it reminds me of, well, because today that seems like an important thing. By the time 8 years has gone by, live TV will be fundamentally over. It will be completely changed.
But they'll be well positioned to replace that live cable with the internet. In fact, they'll be better doing that, frankly.
Arguably, it's already happening. I mean, on Sunday, Netflix is going to release every episode of a new Arrested Development season. I know. They did previously another series. Amazon's doing a bunch of series. You know, the ways that we watch TV, I should say the ways that we enjoy this kind of content are going to change fundamentally in the next couple of years. And we're going to look back on this. We're going to laugh at this. I guarantee it. Live TV is the silliest possible thing that this device could do.
But it needs to do it. You mean the pass? You're talking about the pass-through thing that it does.
That is the hokey. That is like, hey, I have this brand new Ferrari, but what I need is a way to hook a feed bag onto the front of it.
But isn't that realistic? Isn't that really realistic for now? We're still in the age of the buggy whip, so I think it's a good transitional device. Of course, it's going to have all those capabilities with streaming from the internet.
No, I think the time has passed. I think it's already over.
Don't even bother, you're saying.
This is a waste of time. It's like building a floppy drive into it.
You know what, Paul, though, you've talked about this. The pure gaming console market is declining. And so this is another reason they talked about TV a lot, right? Like they're trying to find a way to keep growing the console market and make it an entertainment thing and not just a gaming thing. And I think a lot of people who are really hardcore gamers don't really realize that the strict video game console market's dying. Not dying.
Think about it. I'm sorry.
I was just saying decline.
You're reminding me of things. If you think about this in the right perspective, Xbox One in many ways is like Windows 8. It's a transitionary product. And it is one that risks alienating the core current user base, right? Because the people who love Xbox, all they care about are game. But Microsoft knows, as Mary Jo has suggested, that market is actually very small. That for this thing to be truly successful, it needs to reach out to a much wider range of people. So, they've been touting this figure where over 50% of all Xbox usage is entertainment-based, not games. They need it to be more like 90-10. Gaming is not something that pays off in a major way, but obviously the entertainment industry is something that pays off in a major way. So we'll see.
I mean, I have a couple of thoughts. First of all, I was kind of excited, although Nilay Patel wrote, I think, a good article in The Verge saying, this pass-through thing was tried already with Google TV, and really...
No, stop. I'm sorry. That is amazing, because actually that thing was tried first by Microsoft in 2002 with Media Center.
He mentioned and Web TV as well.
Okay, but that was where it started. I mean, let's not, Google TV made the mistake of doing it again, and now Microsoft.
You're misunderstanding what he's saying. He's not saying, oh, see, they stole it from. He's saying it didn't work then and it won't work now because we live in a world where people are going to have to use IR blasters, and it's just a crappy experience, and that's what killed Google TV.
Actually, it's funny. It is exactly like the IR controllers that used to be in phones. Years and years ago, I did a Microsoft Roadshow when I had a bunch of devices that I threw up on the bed in the hotel room the night before the first show. And all of a sudden, they all started going beep, bleep, 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 because they were all in each other's IR.
Oh, that's horrible.
It's just absolutely ridiculous. So here we are in the world of Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi Direct, Bluetooth, and IR blasting. Seriously? I mean, that's the state of this industry?
Because it's the state of the cable box and the satellite box. Now, there'll be some that'll use HDMI, and you can control.
You know what? A device that's future-proof needs to look past this. This is like, we've moved forward to Sirius satellite radio and HD radio, but I'm still building an AM tuner into something. This is
But isn't there a risk of going too far too fast? I mean, most of the people who buy this will not have something that can use it. They'll have to use IR blaster. So I understand why. I think the pass-through device might have been the mistake, that maybe they shouldn't have tried that, right?
Clearly what they're shooting for is, I hate to say it this way, most people are too stupid to handle 2 HDMI inputs on one TV. Right. So they want you to be able to use one, and this will do everything. I get the need. It's just that it's going to be a really bad solution.
Right.
To something that, cable TV boxes are terrible, but let's face it, you turn on your TV and it works. I mean, adding this extra step, this extra complexity, I just know from experience. I've done a lot of this. It's horribly terrible. It's terrible.
You have the scooplet.
Yeah.
Now you
Cortana.
can be like Master Chef yourself and talk to. This is not this current version of Windows Phone, but soon to come.
No. Yep. So, you know, we've known Microsoft was going to do something that was similar to Siri and similar to Google Now. They've been hinting about it actually since 2011. I remember when Steve Ballmer started hinting about this. They were going to do some kind of
right? I mean,
personal. Right. They bought Tell Me.
Yeah.
They've been increasingly integrating voice into things like the Connect and into Windows Phone and improving that. So now the next step is for them to have a personal assistant. Everybody who knows Halo, which is not me, but everyone else knows there's a character called Cortana. I had to look up, when I got the code name on this, I'm like, what is Cortana?
You should have just pinged me, Mary Jo. I could help with that one.
I should have. Cortana is Master Chief's AI assistant, right? She always is like kind of learning and adapting. And so that's very fitting with this personal assistant that Microsoft's building. What it's going to do is take the machine learning kind of technology that's built into Bing, and they're going to use that and match all the entity matching and all the other kind of capabilities that they have on the Bing backend. Couple that with the voice technology. So you can say to your phone, get me my boarding pass for Southwest, and boom, it'll know what you mean when you say that. So, you know, Microsoft doesn't have that right now, and they've been kind of hinting about it since 2011 and talking it up. There was a leak earlier this summer of a Windows Phone that was on eBay that actually had an app called Z Cortana listed on it. And everybody was kind of like, what is that thing? And it turns out that is probably the first implementation of this, maybe some kind of a personal assistant for Windows Phone Blue or something slightly thereafter. So that would put it, if it comes out with Windows Phone Blue, this would mean Cortana is probably a 2014 or first half 2014 thing.
Okay.
Microsoft's not talking about this, not saying when, but I can tell you their WP Dev account retweeted me on this story.
Well, that's about as close to confirmation as you're going to get.
I'm like, oh, okay, so that's interesting.
I don't know what she's talking about, but
let's retweet it.
Yeah. Microsoft developer MS Dev. Wake up! They put up, "Wake up, Chief! Cortana is your voice-activated personal assistant in Windows Phone 8.1," says Mary Jo Foley.
Whoa, that's good. That's the best confirmation ever. That's awesome.
I think it's probably true. But the part I'm most intrigued about, okay, that's cool on a phone, right? But there are hints that this isn't just on the phone; that it's also coming to a future version of Windows and Xbox. So the idea is that it would be the same personal assistant technology that would work across all three platforms. And that makes it way more interesting than just a phone app.
It would also be a big boost for Bing.
Yes, it would. It would be huge for Bing. It would be big for the cross-platform story that Microsoft's talking up. It would be big for Windows Phone, especially because, people who know Halo would be like, oh, Cortana's cool. I hope they have something like that. We don't know if her voice will be the voice or whatever. But
they could, though. They own that.
I know. They own it. Yeah, so that'd be pretty cool. But that's all I know right now.
I'm still waiting for Kit. I want Kit.
Yep.
Paul knows what
I just want the car.
Yeah, I want the car.
It's like an 83 Trans Am or something.
Cool. Cortana is a great code name of the week.
It is.
You're watching our Best of Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley, brought to you as Windows Weekly has been all year long by Audible.com. Paul and I are major Audible fans. We love audiobooks from Audible.com. The 150,000 of the best bestsellers, thrillers, mysteries, sexy, like 50 Shades of Grey, but also science fiction. They've got the best collection of audio science fiction, many of them recorded by Audible themselves as part of their Audible Frontiers program. Classics from Isaac Asimov, Jerry Pournelle, and others. I am a big fan of Audible, and I know you will be too. That's why we've arranged for a special trial, 1 month free. That means one book free. You cancel anytime in the first 30 days, but that book will be yours to keep. You'll also get the daily digest edition of either the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal. An Audible subscription is a really great deal. This is the gold plan. So visit audible.com/windows, audible.com/windows. But now, when you do, you're going to sign up for that gold account, and you're going to get a credit. And now you got to make a tough choice. What's your first Audible book? Is it the book that inspired the movie and TV show MASH? Is it the brand new Dean Koontz? Is it great Stephen King novels? Paul's read each and every one of them. Paul and I also like some of the history. There's a lot of great history on audible.com. You know, maybe start with the best of 2013, the best audiobooks of the year voted by listeners at audible.com by category. I'm sure you're going to find something you love. And you're going to get that book for free. Almost all of their books are a single credit. That's what you're going to get when you visit audible.com/windows. Give it a try today. We love Audible. We know you will, too. We now continue the best of 2013. Paul Thurrott, Mary Jo Foley, and a memory from the archives.
Yeah, I mean, it's at least it will give you that inroad into that ecosystem. You can check that stuff out. So it's not a total...
it's not a total loss.
Total wash, yeah.
I don't know. I've been switching back and forth between the Surface 2 and the Surface RT, just in use around the house. And I've been using both of them.
And you're not noticing a big difference?
I mean, definitely some difference, but I don't know. It's not enough to make me say I'm going to go out and pay $450 for the Surface 2.
Yeah, the Surface 2 is still pretty expensive. Yeah, that's true.
As geeks, we sometimes make a bigger difference out of a few percentage points in speed and things like that.
I don't think it's that subtle, but the difference in cost is dramatic.
No one would ever fight over differences in hardware, would they?
Oh, Leo, of course they would. Welcome to Twitter.
Wait. What are you talking about, Xbox Ones? That's what this is all about, Craig. We're all trying to get Xbox Ones on Black Friday. I thought we were getting PlayStation 4s. What? Me too. No, guys, when I said we're going to get the next-gen gaming systems, I was obviously talking about Xboxes. Yeah. But I want a PS4, not a crappy Xbox. Look, guys, we all have to agree on one system. Right, let's all get PS4s. No, the Xboxes are going to be better. They're not better, they're just more expensive. We are getting Xbox Ones, guys, and that is final.
Mary Jo, have you ever heard of South Park?
Yeah. I have.
If you guys don't want to join us on Black Friday to get Xboxes, then that's fine. We're still going to fight on Black Friday, just not with you.
I'll leave the rest of this as an exercise for the viewer to go and find that Black Friday episode of South Park in which they debate over the minor differences between hardware devices.
Yeah.
You mentioned, Mary Jo, the Bill Gates AMA, which is, Microsoft just obviously discovered Reddit. And so the Surface team does an AMA. Bill Gates did an AMA on his 80-inch. He did it on Windows 8 on his 80-inch screen. And you point out something I thought was very interesting, and this is your code name pick of the week.
It is. So my code name pick of the week is WinFS, which is actually the code name for what was called Windows Future Storage. I know.
Hardly knew ye.
I know. So they asked Bill Gates on the Reddit AMA, what was your biggest regret of the technology that never shipped from Microsoft if you could have it to do over again? And he said WinFS, which I thought was a crazy pick. Yeah. So WinFS was supposed to, it was supposed to be so many things, like an object-oriented file system. Some people described it as like the database gets integrated into the file system. No two people, even who worked on the team, could agree what it was, and they ended up scrapping it in the end. And I think at one point it was even supposed to be like one of the key pillars of Vista.
I remember.
They scrapped it and ended up delivering a few of the components of it as part of different versions of SQL Server that came out. But I thought that was a really interesting pick on Gates's part. Like, what was your biggest regret of this?
Well, he's a real geek. You know, when you ask real geeks, that comes up all the time. We wanted a modern file system, and that was the promise of Longhorn. Wasn't it Longhorn before it was Vista? This was really all about Longhorn.
Yeah, it was Longhorn.
That was the big Longhorn thing.
Yeah. Even back to you guys probably remember this, information at your fingertips. Yeah. Remember that whole?
Yeah.
This was kind of like the ideas that were the precursors to OneFS and Cairo, the object-oriented file system. Yeah, so many good code names from those days. It never ended up happening.
And you quote some more in your column, Bill Gates' column on All About Microsoft. One of the things he said, the next emerging technologies that will be as disruptive as computers were, robots.
I know. He's still a big robot believer.
Robots. Can't wait.
He's going to control him with his compact tablet PC.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Can't wait.
I thought his best answer, though, was what people, they said, what do people give you on your birthday since you're the richest guy in the world?
Yeah.
And he said, free software. Just kidding.
That's good.
That was good.
That's a good Reddit answer.
It was.
He's pandering to the Reddit crowd.
Yep.
Did they ask him what's the standard Reddit question about the duck? 1,000 ducks or 1,000 pounds?
Oh, yeah, they did. They asked him that.
What was his? Did he answer it?
He did answer it. They said, which one would you rather have, right? 1,000 ducks or one
fight.
giant?
Which one would you rather fight? Not
right,
have.
or a horse-sized duck.
A horse-sized duck or a 1,000.
I think he said the horse-sized
duck.
I think he said horse-sized duck. I'm pretty sure.
Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, he answered that on a video.
He would rather fight one horse-sized duck.
Yeah.
One horse-sized duck would be a far better opponent. Well, let's see. I think he actually didn't he do a video?
He did this cute video. The video was super cute.
Let me see. I think I have it. I have it here. Let me see if I can play it. See if I have the technology. Push a button. Push another button. How much money is in your wallet?
I don't always carry a wallet, but I got one with me, and it looks like I've got, $100.
Can I have $1 million?
I use it to floss my teeth.
Well, Melinda and I thought long and hard about where the money we're lucky enough to have should go. We've decided it goes to invent new vaccines for things like malaria.
In other words, no.
AIDS,
Not to you.
seeds for farmers who need to grow more. So if you're a poor farmer, if you're a child growing up who hasn't had access to these vaccines, those resources are for you. But otherwise, we've already picked where all the money's going to go.
Just say no, Bill. Just say no. Which would you rather fight, 100 duck-sized horses or one horse-sized duck?
Not sure about the specifics, but in general, I like taking on big problems, things like new vaccines. So I guess you could call that a horse-sized duck.
So, by the way,
a
lot more clear than his DOG deposition during the antitrust trial.
He got right to it.
Yep. He's learned a lot in those years.
I like it that he made the video. I think that's really cool. And he answered those, I think, before. Those are pre-recorded. He knew they would ask him about the horse-sized duck because that's kind of a tradition. Sure. And so he answered it ahead of time. Good news and bad news. What's the good news?
Mary Jo, do you want to take the good news part?
Good news. And then Paul, because he's such a cheerful fella, can do the bad.
Actually, see, I was defending this on Twitter, and it's like all these people are really down on Nokia today. I think they're doing fine. But please, continue.
Yeah. I mean, we can do the good news pretty quick. They're losing less money. Yay.
Well, wait a minute. See, that was like I did it.
It was.
I could have done
No,
that.
if you did it, you would have gone, yay.
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 Okay.
That'd be the only difference.
They're selling more phones.
They're selling more Lumias and Windows phones, right?
In Russia, Windows Phone
is
tops.
It is, and India too. And there's a whole handful
in Russia. Windows Phone buys
sells you. Yeah. This because
actually,
no major carrier in Russia will carry the iPhone, but
who cares? You
who cares? Doesn't matter why.
No,
and there's a brisk gray market for iPhones, but Windows Phone is tops.
Right.
With like 10% of the market almost.
Yeah. Yep. And then the other good news was there were more Lumias sold in this quarter by Nokia than all BlackBerry phones. So
that's sad.
Come on, we're trying to get any little good news we can.
that is a backhanded compliment if ever there was one.
No. I think that's an important milestone because they are now number 3, and we can kind of make jokes about it, but they are
that's
upselling.
Fair.
They are.
That's fair.
And by the way, RIM just launched a new platform this year, and Windows Phone 8 is significantly outselling.
But is this really because Windows Phone 8 is doing so well or because BlackBerry's doing so crappy?
It's a little bit of both, Leo.
That's why it's if you said, oh, hey, we went toe-to-toe against BlackBerry and we beat him in the marketplace, that would be one thing, but it's not really.
Microsoft beat Netscape in the 1990s. Was it because IE was better than Netscape, or was it because Netscape screwed up?
But that was a fair head-to-head competition. They beat...
A little bit of both.
But they beat them. They gave it away for free is how they beat them.
okay, but
if you start giving away Windows Phone, hey, there's a strategy.
By the way, that's an excellent idea, and I'd like to pursue that one. But no, it's things are rarely black and white. I mean, it is nuanced. I mean, they sold almost twice as many Lumia handsets in this quarter as they did in the same quarter a year ago. That's amazing.
Good. Doubling is good.
Yep.
That's amazing. They sold significantly. I think the number, I don't remember the exact number, but the significantly more phones this quarter than they did in the previous quarter. 5.6 to 7.8, and they predicted that they will sell more again in the current quarter. So it's good. It's on the right trajectory.
The trend is your friend.
It is.
Yep.
And it's good to see the upward trend because, as we Windows Phone users know, it hasn't been upward lately or at all, pretty much, since they launched Windows Phone.
Right.
So yeah, we're happy. We're happy that it's gaining traction and that Nokia is doing well, since that's the biggest by far of all the Windows Phone platforms. So that's good.
And
good news.
There is no question that Nokia is now seen as a cutting edge phone, which is also a good. I think the Lumia 1020. You could argue that the 925 and the 920 before it were certainly very competitive phones, but the 1020 now leaps them ahead in many
different kind of thing.
Yeah.
In fact, I would go even a step further and say that the big change that's occurred this year is that they went from having a reasonably well-rounded lineup of phones to having a pretty incredible collection of phones at various price points, including a phone that you can buy for as little as $130 without a contract, which is an amazing device for that price, all the way up to the craziest phone camera thing ever made. I mean, with a 41 megapixel camera and all of that stuff. I mean, it is, and everything in between. Depending on where you live, which country you live, you obviously have a slightly different selection, and depending on your carrier. But and there are exceptions. Sprint isn't exactly great right now, but I would say across the board, for the most part, you have a pretty amazing selection of Lumia devices now, which was not the case a year ago. It definitely was not the case a year ago.
Not the case.
So to me, this is all great news. And, of course, more to come. They kind of hinted at the 1020 event that there would be future product launches coming soon as well.
Yes. And there we go. You got it in a nutshell.
If you expected me to leap in and save you guys, I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna let you stew.
I've written a book for you people.
Actually, before the show, Paul admitted something very important to us, which is that he's sitting looking at the last page. He's practically ready to type "the end" on the typewriter.
What's awful about it? So it's not the last page literally in the book. It's the last page I'm going to write. So it's actually close to the beginning of the book.
Oh, interesting.
Actually, that's not even fair, too. I do have to write a short introduction as well. But it is the most boring, awful topic that I could not care less about.
You put it off, didn't you?
Have to.
You put it off.
Just,
What is it? What's the most boring? What is it?
I don't want to say.
Let's think. What could it be, Mary Jo? What could be the most boring thing you could write about a phone?
Basic information.
How to use the dialer.
Yeah, no, I wrote that a long time ago. That was way more interesting than what I'm writing now.
What could this be?
Whoa.
That's boring. Whatever it is, that's boring.
I'm just tired of writing about this kind of stuff.
Paul writes books like David Lean makes movies. He doesn't do it in order.
Okay, I had to think about that one for
I wonder if anybody
right.
does it in order. That's kind of an interesting question. Don't you,
You
always do
gotta
the
cherry
easy
pick,
part?
Sometimes you're in the mood.
I wrote my books in order pretty much,
Did you?
but they were almanacs, so it was chronological. The book was actually chronological,
there are huge problems not doing it in order. You write things differently for one thing, but you have to constantly assume you are going to reference things that you say you're going to, right? Yes. So in the early days, I used to have all these kind of notes to myself, like,
don't forget
that you mentioned you were going to do this.
CF page XXX.
Right.
As we mentioned in page XXX.
Yeah, you didn't do that. You didn't do that.
Yeah, I didn't write my book in sequence either. I picked the parts that were easiest first and left out the hard parts till the end, which is a mistake.
Gina Trapani wrote an article paraphrasing Mark Twain. He says, if you eat a frog for breakfast in the morning, then you can safely say that the worst is over.
Yeah.
Start with this tough
Depends
stuff.
on how you cook the frog, actually.
Actually, frog's legs for breakfast would not be bad. That's interesting, yeah.
So you eat dessert first. Life is short.
Yeah.
Eat dessert first because you never know.
You never know.
Get hit by a bus.
And then you wouldn't have to write the boring chapters.
These are interesting life philosophies. It's kind of the glass half full versus half empty.
I always told my kids, easy, hard, hard, easy, which is if you do the easy part first, then you got the hard part later.
Actually,
and it's easier to do the hard part first, and the easy part is you just. Since
we're on this topic, I will say that the guy who got me into writing, and let me think about this. This is literally 20 years ago. When we were working on our first book together, explained to me that because he had written one book previously, that he would write for 1 hour, and then he would play a video game for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And then he would write for 1 hour, and so the game that we played that year while we were writing that first book was Return of Castle Wolfenstein.
Wow.
And, right.
You mean the original one? The one where the Nazis go.
No, the 3D one. Yeah, Mein Leben, you know that one.
Oh yeah, okay. So that was a little later. The first one,
not the Apple II,
was on 8-bit sounds. So all it goes. That is a great Wolfenstein 3D you played. Yeah,
and that's why
great game.
I mean that game, like we found like every secret in it. We did, you know.
Yeah, because it was anything.
And we wrote a book.
Anything was better than writing a book.
Well, we also wrote the book.
Anything was better than the Delphi Bible. Was that what the Delphi Bible?
It was a few books before the Delphi Bible.
Wow.
But, yeah.
Wow.
So there you go.
Wow.
And people can, by the way, see the progress of this book because it is online, windowsphonebook.com.
It is online.
Yeah.
It's very close. It's very close.
That's neat. There's nothing better, to quote somebody else, the best part about writing is having written. So you, Paul, and you, Mary Jo, have both got the 2520, but I just got handed mine.
Oh, nice.
Now, this is a review unit from AT&T. Thank you, AT&T. I'm probably going to buy it. Well, if everybody agrees it's the one to get. I've played with a Surface 2.
Is the AT&T one black, or do they have color choices? I don't even know.
You know,
theirs is black only.
It's black. Or at least this one is.
Okay.
So I guess I'll power it up, right? See what happens here. See if it comes with power. Now, this is a review unit, so who knows? I mean, it could be that John C. Dvorak had it for a month and didn't charge it. So
does it smell like straw?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so there's that looks like micro HDMI, right? And then
okay, so this is another weird aspect to this. If you've ever had a USB 3 hard drive, you've seen those.
I recognize that. Yeah,
that's the cable type.
Okay.
I have never seen that on a device before, and I don't even know how you would connect anything to this.
Well, it's a master-slave thing with USB, so this would nominally be connected to the drive, not to the computer.
Right. I've never seen that on a like this before, so I don't know.
It doesn't come with a specialized cable.
Nope, doesn't come with a converter, which is crazy.
Huh.
Yeah, that's a real.
So it's a new kind. They're saying DD Reaper in the chat room says it's the new micro USB 3. Thank you, micro USB 3.
The thing is, like, those cables pretty much don't exist. I mean, obviously, I'm sure you could go to Amazon and buy a.
Well, I think you could put a regular. Yeah, you can. You can put a regular micro USB, traditional micro USB in here. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah, the Galaxy Note came that way too.
Show me how to
jam it in the right way, though, as usual.
Jam it in.
Yeah. So
okay, that would help a lot.
That goes in the big one, the big side. Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
So yeah, I do recognize this now from the Note. The Galaxy Note 3 has this same odd.
She's saying.
So what you're saying is, it's a dual connector. All right. Well, I'm going to power it up, but you guys both have had it for a little longer.
So it's good and bad, you know. There's no kickstand.
Oh, see, I like the kickstand. Well, how am I going to use it?
I know, I like having it. You miss it. You know, it's when you get that on most devices don't come with a kickstand, right? Most devices you buy some kind of a case and it adds that kind of capability.
Right.
But once you've used something like that, it's like NFC or wireless charging, actually more to the point. It's hard not to have it, you know? Right. It's weird that this doesn't have some sort of integrated stand.
I'll tell you where this the screen. Well, it's the same. Both of them are 1080p now, right? Is that right?
Surface 2 is 1080p. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Let's just read this real quickly.
Yeah, please read through.
Okay, that's good. All right, I agree.
My daughter ripped on me for not reading one of those the other day.
She reads them, huh?
I was going through it, and she said, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, what do you mean? She said, you didn't read that. I'm like, yeah, I did.
Really? Is your daughter one of those, like, I got to follow all the rules type people?
No, she just likes showing up, Dad.
2520. Okay. Next. Oh, I didn't pick a color. Oh, well, I can go back and do that. Mobile broadband, AT&T, HSPA. We should have LTE here. This is LTE compatible, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So while I'm doing the sign up, what else? There's one, no kickstand. So it's really a tablet.
Yeah. Once we have the keyboard, you can use that to hold it up as if it were a kickstand, right?
Oh, so the keyboard has the kickstand.
Right. It's like the way it. Well, I haven't actually held one, but from pictures I've seen, it looks like it holds it up like it's a kickstand. And, the front part of their keyboard is floppy where the touchpad is. It's so that the keyboard wraps around.
Very strange.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, but the way you can fold it up, it stands upright as if there were a kickstand. So, I agree with Paul. Like, it's hard once you're holding this thing and it's like, okay, I can't prop it up.
It's so shiny and smooth. And
it's very slippery, actually.
Yeah.
Without
if you go to Amazon.com and search for Amazon Basics, they sell a bunch of cables and other kinds of junk like that. And one of the things they sell is a tablet stand, and it's nice for traveling. It's probably $6 or something, but that's what I use for this and for some other devices too. It's so hard not having something.
It is.
So should I use Express settings or?
Yeah, why not?
Whoever says customize. And everything can be customized.
Well, I mean, I document this kind of stuff, and I would have chosen every default.
Yeah, I mean, I probably won't leave it as Bing, but
no one does.
Right, but other than that, everything else looks okay. Right. Yep. Turn on Do Not Track in Internet Explorer. This was the controversial setting that we've seen in Windows 8.1 as well. I'll use Express settings.
I just noticed last night you can turn on Do Not Track in Safari on an iPad.
Yeah, in fact, I think it's on by default, which was even more controversial.
Yeah, I just noticed it was there. I didn't realize they had that.
Well, and because Microsoft had this Express setting default, I think Apache at least said we're going to ignore Do Not Track requests from Internet Explorer.
It's just nice to see these companies working together.
I don't know what the latest is on that.
It's like watching Yahoo and Microsoft and Google work together on YouTube.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? Yeah. Now, can I use? I had this problem with the Nokia, the Lumia 1520. I tried to log in with my Outlook.com account as my main account.
Oh, I can tell you why.
Well, I know what happened because later I went home and I got 18 messages from Microsoft.
Yeah,
saying,
so on this device, it should just, in other words, do you have dual factor authentication on?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so this one should actually throw up a code box afterwards. It should just work.
That's the right way to do it. Microsoft does not, or the Lumia 1520 does not do it that way. I had to use a temporary password that was
an app password. Yeah.
And it never told me that. It just didn't work.
You know what? Are you sure it doesn't tell you that? Because I think
no,
I think it does now.
Your password. That's not your password. Okay. That's not your password. And then I went home, and my phone of record with Outlook had 5 messages or whatever saying, "Here's your password. Here's your password." No.
So I guess the general advice to people about that is obviously you should turn that stuff on. If you can do dual whatever, like a 2-step authentication, whatever, you should. If you are positive you put the password in wrong, then try an app password. That's the way to do it.
I think that's exactly right. And it was texting me one, which is a nice feature.
I find the need to do that has gone down significantly. And I could have sworn I thought it was the 1520 where it actually said.
Okay, I might have. You might be right. I might have.
No, I could be wrong too.
No, I might have screwed it up because I did, and this is what I thought I did wrong. I skipped the giving it the account up front to get it set up.
Okay. I'm talking. This would have been during setup.
Yeah,
because there's a couple things. The Windows Phone setups has actually changed recently. So they do the Wi-Fi setup now before you do your account, because before, if you didn't have a SIM card and it wasn't connected, you couldn't connect with your. So they fixed that, and I could be wrong because again, unfortunately, I've installed like 24 different devices this week. but I think it was the 1520, which also has further updates on it, where it actually did say, if you've set up an app an app password, not an ass pap word, that
whoops.
That you may need to enter that here. I think it was that device, but I could be wrong about that.
And let's see, that's tip and software. So I think,
I do have one more software pick. I should just mention. And you got to click on that link at the end there. Microsoft released Internet Explorer 11 for Windows 7 today. This software is also included as part of Windows 8.1. So if you have Windows 8.1, you get it for free. If you have Windows 8, you can upgrade to Windows 8.1 to get it. And obviously on Windows 8X, Internet Explorer is both the modern, kind of mobile version of the browser as well as the desktop version. IE 11 for Windows 7 is just the browser. So it's the same, the desktop version. It's the same rendering engine, most of the same advances and advantages of the platform and all that kind of stuff. And then there's this weird anime thing going on with IE that I'm never going to understand. Oh, that's weird. That's actually different.
Well, that's the link. Internet Explorer.
So click on the little arrows at the bottom.
See, I'm on a Mac, so I'm not using IE.
I'm wondering. Yeah, I'm thinking this is telling you something's wrong. So click on the.
It says sob. I guess I can't use this.
So you can't see it.
Oh.
So all right. Man. So basically, what you're missing are a series of, I don't know if it's manga style or whatever anime, where it's like the girls with the short skirts and the humongous eyes, and she's got an IE logo, and she's almost like a superhero or something. Apparently, in certain parts of the world, if you want to sell a product, you got to have an anime thing going on, and the IE guys, I guess, embrace this or whatever. So
really,
there's been this IE anime stuff going on for years, and like I said, I don't really understand it, but let's see if I can bring this thing up. I think I had it.
It's Internet Explorer tan.com. Is that right?
Where is it?
Let me see what happens in Chrome.
Oh, using
it takes me to a Facebook page. Is that what's supposed to happen?
No.
I get the idea.
It should be a full screen.
I get the idea. I mean, I'm seeing it says Internet Explorer Inori.
So go to the photos. Go to the photos link. That image there is one of the back. They look like desktop wallpapers. Yeah, so this is some of them. So if you click on any of those,
that's just what I want.
Yeah, stuff like that. So you can see like there's a Microsoft keyboard, there's a Lumia phone in there, there's a Surface, and it's this kind of anime chick
with a cat,
an IE headband.
Why is it in anime the humans have giant eyes, but the cats have just slits for?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't get it. Like I said, I don't understand.
It says you can download Inori.
Yeah, of course.
The world's most popular browser just got cuter.
Yikes.
Download the new Internet Explorer Inori version and try out the fast-load browser. So there's a special version of this?
Is there a version of the browser, really?
It says there's a special version.
Oh, that's too bad. Well, I can't explain this, Leo. All I can do is point to it and say, this looks weird to me.
Yeah. I'm going to run home and try this on my Surface. Weird.
Yeah, maybe better than SleepNair.
Weird. Apparently there's a video, if I can find it, in one of the Facebook albums. Let's see. Oh, here's the video. Let's watch the Inori video, which is on YouTube, and I think I can play YouTube. I don't know. Audio on YouTube, there's something wrong with the audio on YouTube.
This is going to be like this girl in Ghost in the Shell.
Well, here we are. It's late at night in a strange city. Looks like Tokyo. And here comes somebody running through the... Did I presume this is the Japanese market or no?
I think so. A Korean
it worldwide? Animation is so crappy in anime.
She's running from web standards.
Looks like a portal gun. Oh, they got her. They killed her. This is terrible. Oh, they're aliens. Mechs that have cat heads.
I'm surprised it doesn't have like a Firefox logo on its chest.
Yeah, no, might as well.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Now suddenly she's dancing with the Windows on her butt. She's got the Windows logo on a little flap on her skirt. Oh.
This is very 1980s video game, like
wow,
like the Turrican music, but the dance version.
So Microsoft spent a lot of money on this to promote Internet Explorer 11 to the Japanese market, I guess. Apparently, they're telling me in the chat room, every frame has a reference to something.
Every frame?
There's a lot of cross-reference. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed that the building had a bunch of HTML web standard stuff on it.
Wow.
There she is.
Oh, that's your wallpaper.
Her office is surprisingly similar to mine, although hers is a little cleaner.
So, Paul, happy birthday, belated. And we've decided, we got together here, we all pitched in to get you a little gift, and I think you're going to be pretty darn excited about this. We've pitched in to buy you new spider bands.
I do need those.
For your Heil PR40. So your microphone will be like mine. Firm.
It's like you're sending me a little bag of garottes.
An elastic, yeah. Yeah. You can be used as either garottes or spider bands. Your choice.
Okay.
No, George Takei, love him, right? He did the ads for the LG with the yellow channel. Oh my! Of course, Star Trek.
He's on Futurama all the time. He's doing voiceover work.
And I thought, oh, this is so cool because the guy, he must be in his 60s. This guy is like really connected. He's really hip. I follow him on Google Plus and Twitter and Facebook.
He probably has a really smart PR company.
All these memes. He's really on top of them. And then I find out, it's a company.
Yep,
it's a company.
And you can kind of see how it works because he's from Star Trek, smart guy. And so whoever got in charge of this guy said, well, we'll position him as a smart guy. Like, he'll have these smart utterances that people will now think that this guy's like Yoda or something. Like he's just comes out with these little...
I thought he was so hip.
I know. It's terrible to find out something like that.
It's really depressing. Really depressing.
So that's what happens.
Yeah, but it's everybody, and this is the sad thing. Katy Perry probably doesn't. Although, I think Lady Gaga actually does because
they're insane.
They're insane. And no PR rep. Maybe, I don't know, this would be a very sophisticated strategy. Really a counter strategy. But somebody tweeted her that Perez Hilton was looking at an apartment in her building, and she goes off on Twitter. Like, goes off.
Right.
And I thought, if that's fake, then, no, I think she must be really doing the real
interesting
Twitter thing. I don't know. Could be that she, I don't know. She does both.
Yeah, right. And I'm sure even Katy Perry occasionally hops onto.
But Gaga seems to use Twitter of all of them the best. But I don't know why we got in this. So.
Well, it's because the Twitter IPO.
Oh, that's right. And those people are billionaires. But I, who led the pack, even beat Barack Obama in his day.
Right.
He was the president when I beat him, No, he wasn't yet. He was a candidate.
Well,
May 2008. He was still a candidate. I think once he was president, he beat me. Devices, baby. Surface 2. And Surface Pro 2, the Dell Venue 8 Pro. They're just flowing off.
They're churning out of factories in China and landing in my lap. And somebody made the comment today in one of my posts about some device, probably the Nexus 5, because I've written a lot about various devices that have come out recently. That there's no way that Paul is buying all of these things. That would be too expensive. Clearly. He's getting review loaners and so forth. And actually, I have gotten some review loaners, Surface 2 and Surface Pro 2, for example. But I bought most of the Surface accessories that I've reviewed. I bought the Dell Venue 8 Pro.
I try to buy this stuff whenever I can because I don't.
Yeah.
It's not, I make a big, ethical thing out of it. Like, well, you see, I don't want to take it. But the truth is, just between you and me, I hate PR people. And when they send you something, they want to talk to you. And then they go, that review, can we have a conversation about it? And I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
So, I agree with that 100%. I would add further to it. I mean, this is one of those first world problems that people aren't going to appreciate the
you and I. It's just you and me.
No, but there is there's a responsibility that comes from this too. Obviously, a review unit would need to go back and you have to keep all of the packaging and the slip and all
you have
the,
to open it carefully. When I get a new thing, I want
it's a lot of stuff that goes on. I know it sounds like whatever, Paul, but it's terrible in its own way. The weight of it, all this stuff, the physical weight of it is destroying my home. But
no, I don't want it. I told him stop
like
sending me stuff because you would get. I remember going to Dvorak's house. The first time I ever went to Dvorak's house, there was a pile higher than me of UPS boxes.
Sure.
And there was on his staircase there was a laptop on every step.
These are all boxes down in the corner of my office.
See? You don't want
it's
this.
like a Sanford and Son disaster in here. I'm
coming, Elizabeth. Whoa! Yeah. I just fell all over the boxes.
Yeah, no, and it's just piles of it.
No, it's like the Midas touch. You think it'd be a cool thing to be able to turn everything into gold, and then you get it, and then you really regret it.
No, and then I start getting those kind of not so subtle comments from my wife, like, "So what's going on in your office there? Do you have rats living in there?"
I should take a picture of my office because we just moved, and every room is now unpacked in the house, except my office. And I look at it, and it looks like a spaghetti factory erupted. There's wires, and they're all tangled. It's a ball, and I can't do it. I can't bring myself. I should have just thrown it all away.
I have wires that are plugged into things that aren't doing anything. I've got wires that are not plugged into things that I think are charging things.
Oh yeah.
I had an Ethernet. This happened some time ago, but I have like an Ethernet network, obviously, and I had at one point, so stupid, I had somehow managed to plug in a cable that went into the wall in one spot and then into the wall in another spot. You know what I mean?
This is not recommended.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
You understand how stupid
Don't
that is,
do that.
Right? Now, for all I know, it was getting tremendous bandwidth. I had no idea, but it's like you wonder why you're not online. It's a disaster. It's really bad.
In my Ethernet.
Yeah. Stupid. So you get all this stuff, and there's more coming. We talked about the consoles. iPad Air, the iPad Mini is coming soon. The new version. There's a Nexus 10 we expect to happen anytime now. The new Lumia tablet, the new Lumia phablet. More Windows Mini tablets like the Lenovo Mix 2. I hope and expect to get very soon. The Dell Venue Pro 8 or 8 Pro has been so great. I'm thinking maybe I should get the 11. I mean, people want to hear about it,
And this is the thing. It becomes an obligation. It no longer becomes a pleasure. In fact, I look at this time of year now, and it's getting worse. I mean...
this year, by the way. It's always bad this time. But this year in particular...
Horrible.
There is no doubt now in my mind. This is the worst year ever for this kind of stuff.
There is more shiny crap raining down on us.
And it's really hard to keep it all in your head. And you can lose track of stuff. You want to give everything its due, and and people get very specific. Could you compare the Surface 2 to the Dell Venue Pro 11?
Oh no, I do this all the time. This has optical image stabilization. No, wait a minute. Does it? One of them has optical image.
Yep.
Which one has cheat charging? Oh, this had... No, wait a minute. I think this has... I can't ever... You need a cheat sheet.
Someday I got to write a book about like user interface stupidity. I'm sure someone already has written a book about this.
There's a lot of it. Oh boy.
But I told you the story probably on this podcast years and years ago about the humorous experience I had with the what was actually a CD changer in my Volkswagen.
No, I don't remember
the weirdness of that. But I was just reminded the other day, we have we've been using the same espresso machine for years, and it has like a water canister you kind of put in the back, obviously.
Yeah.
So we had this thing for 2 years, and there's a line that you fill the water up to, and obviously, and the line is marked XAM.
XAM.
Yeah, and my wife and I would look at we talked about it. We're like, what do you think that stands for? Like, I don't know. So I swear to God, 2 years into this, pulled the thing off the back this time instead of filling it on the back, put it into the sink, started filling it up, and I had turned it around. And that line is actually...
Max!
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 Yes, Max. Yep. Yeah. Now, I'm not suggesting that my wife and I are like geniuses, or anything like that, but I feel like we're reasonably smart people. You know what I'm saying?
2 years. What does
ZAM.
XAM? What does ZAM mean?
The hell does ZAM stand for?
Why would
do you
they
think?
put that line with ZAM
Yeah.
on the back?
I mean, I know that's where I fill it to. One might describe it as the maximum amount of water that you would put into the device.
ZAM, that's what it is.
ZAM. So you know in the beginning of Star Wars when they're running from the Empire and they have the secret plans of the Death Star?
Yeah.
So I got the secret plans to Microsoft's retail plans for the, for the holidays. And I've never gotten this document before, so I can't compare it to what they did
Help
last
me,
year.
Obi-Wan Thurrott. You're my only hope.
There's a lot of vague stuff, a lot of marketing baloney in here, a lot of stuff about retail fixtures and how these things are going to look in stores and all that kind of stuff. But there's a couple of interesting facts to bring out of it. One of them is that they actually specify very specifically what I call the hard goals are for the holiday season, meaning Windows at retail. And retail isn't just brick and mortar; it's online as well. But we'll just call it Windows at retail. Sells 16 million Windows tablets in the holiday selling period. A very specific figure. Make touch mainstream on PCs, right? And then improve the Windows retail experience. And this is the thing that Apple went through, I don't know, probably 10 years ago, where, maybe they had like a store within a store in CompUSA, but it looked like a ghetto and, with parts strewn all over the floor.
Disassembled computers.
Yeah. Anyone who's walked into a Best Buy over the past couple of years knows the hellhole that is the PC section.
It feels like Detroit.
Yeah. Right. There's like a fire burning in the corner. A couple of wild dogs run by chasing a child.
It's like downtown Detroit.
Yeah. No, it's terrible. So Microsoft earlier this year announced plans to have those Windows Store within stores. And you see them around. I have the one in Dedham has been there for months now. And supposedly they're bigger than the Samsung store and the Apple store in the store and all that kind of stuff. And Microsoft, of course, has their own stores. And then they have agreements with other retailers. They have apparently stores within stores and retailers like in the UK and Canada that are not Best Buy, other Dixons and so forth. And I think that's a big deal because what they want to do is not have people have that connotation, right? Because you think of the laptop thing as like this ghetto. And so you walk into Apple Land and it's bright. It's like a museum. It's beautiful. Everything's really clean. And you walk into the ghetto and you hear like a coyote crying in the background. And, it's like it's you have a certain mindset to it. I alluded earlier to this notion that they want to get people to want Windows, right? They want people to aspire to have Windows, right? That these devices would be awesome and they're a vital. we need like a Halloween effects tape or something. The creaky door opens,
Best Buy, your Halloween store.
Yeah, that's right.
We never intended it that way.
So anyway, I have a little article about it, but it's just a rough plan. This is interesting because you don't usually get to see this stuff. Of course, they're not going to put out a press release and say our intention is to sell X number of whatever. They would never do that because when they miss, they look like jerks. And so it'll be interesting to see if we get the MPD data or whatever data after the holidays are over, how these things really did in the real world, and we can kind of compare it to what they hope to do.
Welcome to Best
Right, welcome to Best Buy. I don't actually work in this section. Let me go get someone who does, and then they disappear.
Exactly.
And then you actually see them outside driving away in their car. That's like the Best Buy PC buying experience in a nutshell.
Bandit.
Oh.
The password.
That's the first word that comes to mind.
The password is Bandit. We should play this like password.
Right.
Now, I'm going to tell you what the word is, and then Mary Jo has to guess it.
Okay.
What is Bandit?
Well, apparently, Bandit is the code name for a coming Nokia phablet.
I like the word bandit better.
6-inch
phablet.
phone. Of course you do. It's a much better word than Lumia 1520 or whatever they're going to call this thing.
Bandit. Does it look like a raccoon?
Photo.
Does it have a little
Oh,
mask?
God. Wouldn't that be awesome? Yeah.
That would be awesome, actually.
I want a smartphone that has an opposable thumb.
So I don't have to.
I want it to hold me, not the reverse.
I like
That'd be good.
Intriguing. Now, we're going to do a teardown of it. iFixit's already posted theirs on the iFixit site.
It's good that you mentioned that because a lot of people have asked me, why is the Xbox One so huge, compared to the PlayStation 4? And why is there an external power brick when the PS4 does the internal thing?
Yeah.
And I not without knowing the actual answer to that, it turns out I'm correct, which is that they didn't get cooling right on the 360,
right?
And they're going to get it right on this one. And you've seen the fan. I think it's like the size of my head, and so that thing's going to be kept cool. And I think that's what they wanted to accomplish.
Yeah, and we tore down the PS4 last Sunday. We will tear down with iFixit. We will tear down the Xbox One this Sunday in between the radio show and Twit. And one of the things you see immediately on the PS4 is how much they pay attention to cooling on the PS4 as well.
Oh, do they? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure why there's a picture of toilet paper before. There's
because it's exciting.
It's exciting. By the way, they gave it a very high repairability score, 8 out of 10, which is the same as the PS4. Both of these consoles are easy to get into and easy to fix. But we'll do the full teardown live on the air.
It's funny,
Sunday.
the original Xbox had probably, I don't remember exactly, but it was probably a 5,400 RPM, hard drive, like 160, whatever there was. It was a long time ago. But what's the drive? Is that an actual drive, or that must be an SSD in the Xbox? In the Xbox
there's
one.
a drive. Let's see.
Samsung.
It's not a replaceable hard drive.
It is a 5400.
It's a SATA 2.5-inch SATA 4 drive.
That's hilarious.
5,400 RPM, 500 gigs. Very similar to the PS4, although the PS4 is easily upgradable.
Yeah. Well,
not so
Microsoft
much.
used to do that. With the 360, they made it very easy to do that. And a lot of people have been wondering about this one because it's on the inside.
Right. Less so. By the way, if it is a battle of the fans, Microsoft definitely wins.
I know. That thing's awesome.
That thing is huge. It's huge. Okay. And by the way, that's good because a big fan can rotate slower and is much quieter than a little fan. So a single big fan was the choice both Sony and Microsoft made. But Microsoft wins because of the big fan. Really big fan.
That is funny.
All right, let's. One more related issue. I got to show this. South Park. Mary Jo? I'm sure you're a big South Park fan. Right?
Have you watched this yet, Leo?
I haven't. This will be the first.
All right, so this is slightly not suitable for work. So I just wanted to warn people. It's not that it's vulgar, but there's some violence.
All right, and we will, so we've warned everybody, so that's fair. Here you go. This was last night on South Park.
No, listen, for the last time, we don't have any dragons to send them. If some people want to choose PlayStations, it's their choice.
Sir, Mr. Gates is here.
Bill Gates? I gotta go.
Ballmer sitting at the reception desk.
Hey, Bill Gates actually showing up at corporate.
Hey, Steve, how you doing?
Not bad, just trying to get this next-gen press stuff handled.
I heard there's a little trouble in Colorado somewhere?
Oh, it turns out it was nothing. Just some kids trying to turn the console wars into something bigger.
Oh, my gosh. When I stepped down and left you in charge of the company, Steve, I knew there might be some challenges for you.
Yeah, well, nothing I can't handle. There might be some changes we need to make to our marketing, but I'm optimistic.
Hey, some creepy hitman's coming up behind
You're right, Steve. Some changes do need to be made.
Oh! He stabs Ballmer in the heart. Yeah, that's pretty gory. It is cartoon violence, though.
Do you know what weakness is, Steve? Weakness is believing that competition is healthy. See, there was a time when Xboxes and PlayStations could both survive in this world, but that time's done. It's all headed to one device that people game on, watch TV on, socialize on. There's only going to be one winner. I can't have you idiots throwing away everything I worked so hard to achieve.
In typical over the top fashion, Bill Gates hires a hitman to deal with Ballmer.
When that for the South Park movie came out years and years ago.
Oh man!
There's a scene where they're doing a presentation and it crashes, and the general says, "Bring in Bill Gates,"
And he says, you said Windows 98 was going to be more reliable and faster. And he says, well, we had over 150 improvements, you know, and then he blows them away. I was laughing so hard I missed like the next 10 minutes of the movie. You know? It just did perfect Bill Gates. Like Windows 98 has over 150, you know, whatever. It was so beautiful.
It's time for Windows Weekly, the show where we cover all your Windows needs with the Xbox-addled Paul Thurrott of the Super Site for Windows and the Hadoop girl, Mary Jo Foley of allaboutmicrosoft.com. Hello, boy and girl. How are you?
Hello.
Hello. So how you feeling? I know we're going to talk about Threshold. Mary Jo's got a huge scoop.
Yeah.
It's very exciting, but before we do that... How you liking the Xbox One, Paul? I'm sorry, Mary Jo. We should have done this when your mic wasn't working.
You should have.
Yeah.
Right. I like it a lot.
Me
however,
too. I see you play a lot of Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Because you're my friend.
Yes, I am, Leo.
Whenever I fire up, what are my friends up to? Paul Thurrott's leveled up a Call of Duty. Paul did Call of Duty.
I promise I'm going to get off of this game eventually.
You like the dog?
Yeah,
now?
I mean, I like it a lot. I see the future in this thing. I get it.
Me too.
I think
I'm
the
excited
$500 is really expensive.
Is it? Is that a deal breaker?
I think it is for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It doesn't help that it's hard to find right now too. But I think for a lot of folks who play games on an Xbox 360, there's not a lot in the new gen that's super compelling game-wise. And for people with a 360 or a Roku or Apple TV or whatever you might use in the living room, you know, that stuff is on the Xbox One too, and it's cool, and it's got TV pass-through functionality and stuff like that. Yeah. But I think it's one, you know, people, I guess the way I would say it, I think I did write something like this in my review, is if you have a question about whether you need this thing right now, just wait. You know, the people who are going to buy it now are the hardcore gamers, the guys who
There's
just
no hurry.
love Xbox. Yeah, there's no rush. These things are going to be around for years. So
I think it's going to be it'll be spring before we see games, exclusive games that are compelling.
Yep, and I think like a lot of people, I'm holding out a lot of hope for Titanfall as maybe the big one. First big, and we'll see. You know, we'll see if that does it. Gears of War kind of did that for the 360. If you think about it,
is there a new Gears of War going to come for this?
No, and I'm not sure what's going on with that. I know they've talked about it and they want to do something new with it, but no, not yet.
I've been playing Rise. It's interesting. It's one of the few exclusives. It's cool. It's not it's not a big game. It's not a long game, but it's fun. It's fun to be a Centurion and have muscles. I can't tell you what a thrill that is. You know, it's good they don't make you play to type, because otherwise I'd be the Emperor Nero in that game. But fortunately, I'm a big, strong Centurion. I'll save you, Emperor. Dead Rising 3, ho-hum. You know, a lot of zombies. I kind of like I've always liked Assassin's Creed. This one, you're a pirate. I'm in Havana right now, Cuba. It's fun. My trouble is with, and maybe you can help me with controllers, because I'm trying to chase like people in the city of Havana, and I keep climbing things. I don't want, because that's one of the big skills.
That's an Assassin's Creed thing. That's always been the problem.
I don't want to climb it. I want to run.
Yep. They want you to climb, Leo.
It's like there's something like there's a hay wagon. I jump into it.
The inadvertent ladder climb was the and the monotony of the repetition was the kill for the first Assassin's Creed. It's always been like that.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. All right. Anyway, and I know you're a Call of Duty guy, but I think Battlefield 4 is quite a good game too.
Yeah. So my son is now logging in as himself. So actually, a lot of Battlefield 4.
I thought you were playing. I kept seeing these Battlefield 4 videos that Paul Thurrott was posting on.
No, those are my son.
I was gonna rat you out.
It's gonna be weird for him, because when I was a kid, if we got like a television or whatever, like my dad was never gonna play that thing, And then in today's age, of course, the Xbox One comes into the house and it's in my office, right? And so this poor kid comes home every day and this thing is here, but he can't really use it because it's in my office. And so he kind of strategically waits for me to finally, lurk out of here, and then he rushes in. What he can do on it. But
this morning I got up, I found a glass of wine with a Smarties wrapper in it. And I figured, I know that wasn't me.
So somebody was playing my Xbox One in my office because that's where it's hidden out.
That's the kind of food combination like beer and M&Ms. That only a young person.
Only a young person could do a glass of
determine
wine.
was the right combination.
A fine Bordeaux and a package of Smarties. There's nothing quite like it. All right. So sorry, Mary Jo. We're done.
Let's talk Hadoop.
No. You can. This is a big. This is a big. This is a big scoop for you, and it does involve the Xbox One, I guess.
It does. It does. So everyone jokes that I don't care about the Xbox One. I do. I care about the operating system in the Xbox One. I don't care about Call of Duty, but I care about the OS. So I'm not totally sleeping. I'm only half sleeping.
I accept it.
And Threshold, in fact, I see Windows plus phone plus Xbox One equals Threshold. What the hell is Threshold?
Yeah. Well, I should let Paul answer this, actually. And actually, you know what's funny? I think I need to get an Xbox only so I can keep up with these new code names coming out of Microsoft, because Threshold is an Xbox code name.
Oh.
It has to do, and Paul will correct me if I'm wrong, it has to do with the very first version of Halo, I believe, and it was about a planet called Threshold.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, I could be wrong about this too, although I played that game many times. I believe the Threshold was the planet around which the first Halo ring
yes,
revolved.
That's correct. According to Halo Wikipedia or Wiki or whatever.
Yeah, Halo. Right.
It's
Wiki
been
Halo.
so long. I mean, that was that was a decade, more than a decade ago.
Yeah.
And I remember we played a lot of that game during the commercial breaks on the screensavers. They'd come back from commercial. They'd catch me and Kevin Rose and Ford and everybody playing Halo.
Yeah.
I think that,
so
that was the big launch title.
Right? That's and it's. I think this is an interesting thing. It's also a neutral zone, right, in Halo for some reason.
That I don't remember. There was no neutral
I'm just
when
reading
I played
from
Halo.
the wiki.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of interesting too, right? So the way to think about Threshold is, how Blue was a wave of products that it affected everything.
Yeah.
There was a Blue phone and a Blue Windows, and Blue even influenced the Xbox One. Well, this is what Threshold is. It's the next wave. It's like the same thing as Blue, except in starting or in the midst of spring 2015. That's what I think.
Given that, do you think they'll call it 8.2? I mean, is that the logical progression?
You know what? I don't think we know what the numbering will be on it, but I do think it'll be 8 point something based on a webcast that I saw with Terry Meyerson, who's running the Unified Operating System division, because he said, maybe we'll call the future stuff 8 point something, 8.1, 8.2, blah, blah, blah. So he kind of hinted that's what they're going to stick with for a while.
So Threshold is the next, like Blue, the next thing.
Yeah.
Next wave,
it's like the the next big, if you want to call it a major release, it's the next major release of phone, Xbox operating system, and Windows.
So in the reorg, does that make sense? Is that one division, all of that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
It is.
It is.
Okay.
It is. Yeah, all those things are under Terry Meyerson. So phone is under him, the phone operating system, the Xbox operating system, embedded is even under him, the Perceptive Pixel display OS pieces.
So that's kind of telling that reorg put these divisions in under one roof. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Call of Duty. So
how you liking that, by the way?
No, it's Leo. We're way past like. Now we're just at pure addiction.
He's loving it. And do you like the dog? Is the dog working for you?
So now they have a wolf.
Ooh.
For $2, you can buy a wolf.
$2 to make the dog a wolf. Wow.
I don't use the dog, though.
The dog's useful, at least in the early single-player campaign, because it lets you know that there's something going on. It goes out there.
Yeah, no, it's useful in the single player.
Yeah.
Actually, I will say I found the dog irritating in multiplayer, but they fixed it now so that it just doesn't maul you immediately. Like you can actually defend yourself against the animal. Like you'll hit it once.
The dog will kill you?
Yeah, so in the multiplayer game, someone can use the dog as like a kill.
Oh, somebody else can use it. Oh, yeah.
So the dog, as soon as you fire at somebody, he runs after you. And in the original way it worked, if you didn't have exactly the right number of bullets, you were going to get killed by this dog.
Wow.
But the way it works now is you hit him a couple of times and he actually rolls, comes to a stop for a second, and then he comes at you again, and that gives you the chance to reload. So, or whatever you need to do.
Wow. Very interesting.
So, yeah.
Have you played any other games or Dead Rising?
I started playing Assassin's Creed, which is not obviously Xbox One specific, but the new version.
It's fun. I'm enjoying it. I'm in Havana right now. It's too finicky. We talked about this last week. The controller's too finicky. I keep running up buildings. I don't want to. I just want to chase the guy.
So the very first level, I ran into that exact problem. It is exactly the same as Assassin's Creed's always been.
Yeah.
In that regard.
Too
and it's cinematic, right? It's what you're really doing is walking through a story and experiencing it, and
it's beautiful for that. Rise is by the way, Rise, same thing.
Yep.
Rise is gorgeous. Did you get Rise?
Yep.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed it. It's not a hard game.
No, I haven't gotten too far into it.
But it's fun, and it's all about the journey. Mary Jo Foley, she writes for All About Microsoft, the ZDNet blog, and she is a real scoop master. We are missing Paul Thurrott temporarily. He's stuck in a snowbank somewhere in Dedham, Massachusetts. Will emerge slowly and join us right soon, right, Mary Jo?
Yes,
yeah,
he will.
Any minute now. Or any hour now, let's put it that way. But really, I'm glad to have you by yourself because you got a massive scoop this week.
Yes, I actually remember when I was taping it Windows Weekly a couple weeks back, and I said I was in an undisclosed location.
That was where you were?
Yep.
Oh, you are cagey. So when the big announcement came down a few months ago, the Steve Ballmer said, I'm going to step down as CEO. They gave a handful of 15-minute interviews. You got one of them.
I did.
And at that right there was a sign. But now this may be the last interview Steve Ballmer ever gives, and you've got it. You can see it on Fortune magazine, fortune.cnn.com. And I understand there's more to come.
Yes, more to come.
Do you know how you got? I mean, I know why you got picked. You're great, but did they say anything?
You know what? I would love to know how this all came to be. I've been asking for 20 years to talk to Steve Ballmer. It had been 20 years as of August since I had gotten to talk to him in person.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And I'm not really sure why that happened. I have some theories, but I don't really know. And then after I got to talk to him in August, that was when he announced he was resigning as CEO. I started already right then putting in bids, and I said, I want one more interview with him before he leaves. I want one more. But I wasn't the only one doing that. Everybody's doing that. Yeah. All the journalists want the last interview, right?
Sure.
So I just kind of was petitioning, giving ideas about what I would write if I got to talk to him. And they called me just before Thanksgiving and said, okay, fly to Redmond. You got him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was great. It was kind of awesome. Yeah. And I didn't get just him, which was even more interesting. They also gave me a few of the other people who were very instrumental in the story that I ended up writing, which is kind of his legacy story. And I got to talk to Brad Smith, who runs all of legal for Microsoft. And I also got to talk to Satya Nadella, who runs the cloud and enterprise team and is still rumored to be one of the finalists to replace Steve Ballmer. And the one I was most interested that Microsoft helped me get an interview with was Robbie Bach, who used to run the Xbox business at Microsoft before he retired a couple of years ago.
Interesting.
So, yeah, I got to interview all these people face-to-face. I had Ballmer for 45 minutes in his office, which was very cool.
Nice office?
Really nice office. It's a really kind of big office. He's gone paperless, so there's no desk in there. There's just these two giant screen perceptive pixel displays on two walls and a big flat screen TV hooked up to his Xbox on the other wall.
Oh, but this is probably like the Oval Office, the presentation office. And there's a little cubby hole where he goes in and he's got a desk and a computer and isn't actually working.
Yeah.
But this is I mean, how nice. Corner office, Microsoft, CEO. Yeah. So tell all. How was he dressed?
There's a lot of funny stories about this interview. So I got to go to Building 34, which is where all the executives sit, who are the top executives, right? So we're walking down the hall, and I'm looking at the nameplates on all the doors, and there's Tony Bates' office. There's Lisa Brummel's office.
Wow.
And that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Then I went into Ballmer's office, and he has all these like upholstered chairs in there. So he just plunks down in an upholstered chair, and he's wearing his usual trademark khakis and button-down shirt. And he just kind of kicks back and looks like he's in his living room, like having a conversation. Like it was definitely not a formal interview at all.
And so he was relaxed. He was
very relaxed. And this was interesting to me because a few weeks before I got to interview him, the Wall Street Journal got to interview him. And they described the situation for them was he was very agitated and he still wasn't sure. He was very emotional. But when I talked to him, I felt like he's at peace now with the decision to move forward. And he just felt kind of like two people chatting, really. He didn't feel like he had a lot of regrets. He felt very reflective, but not teary or not like nostalgic at all. He definitely just felt like, I'm here to talk about my legacy. Let's chat.
Do you get a sense that he maybe is trying to craft a legacy, that he's trying to craft a story about his legacy?
Definitely.
Here's what I did.
Yep. He was very adamant when I interviewed him about talking about his successes, as one would if you were trying to craft a legacy story. He talked a lot about, a lot of people have a lot of criticism of me, but look at what I did while I was here. I tripled revenues. I doubled profits. I made some really good acquisitions. So he was very adamant in that I'm not here to say I made a lot of mistakes, although I definitely will acknowledge I did make some, but I did a lot of things right, and I want to get credit for it.
To be fair, if he didn't make some mistakes, then he wasn't trying enough, right? I mean...
Good point, yeah.
You don't want somebody... How long was his tenure as CEO? 15 years? Something like that?
13.
13?
Yeah, 13 years.
You don't expect somebody 13 years running a massive company like that not to make some mistakes.
Right. And we talked about that too. We talked a lot about what his regrets were and where he thought he did make mistakes, things that he would have done differently if he had another chance. The big one, as he told me in August, was Longhorn, which became Windows Vista. And he talked a lot about it wasn't the operating system itself that was the mistake, but the whole process in creating it and leading up to it that was the mistake. He said he felt like he kind of let it fall through the cracks almost. He didn't have anybody who was really paying attention to how it had gotten off track and how they had tried something too ambitious to pull off. He actually said to me in a very candid statement, he said, I wasn't really paying attention to it. Neither was Bill Gates and neither was Jim Alchin, who was running it. And it kind of fell through the cracks.
Wow.
Yeah.
How could you not pay attention to what must have been their biggest initiative at the time?
I know. Well, it was right at the beginning of his CEO-ship, and I think he was still, he kept saying to me, he said it a few times, I'm not a tech guy. He said, I'm a business guy. I came up through the sales ranks, and that doesn't mean I don't know anything about tech, but I'm much more attuned to looking at the bottom line and doing business reviews more than I am, say, to looking at some code and saying, oh, this is in trouble over here.
You say in your article in Fortune that what he feels he brought to the table was a business rigor.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
That was lacking before. With Bill Gates, it's very technically focused.
Right. He said to me, and this too is interesting. He said, Bill Gates obviously cared about making money as well.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
He wasn't just a tech guy.
He was keeping score.
He was. But, the thing that Ballmer did that I think a lot of people forget is he really brought this very regimented approach to how you look at a business and decide, is this a business where we can make money? And that was one of the stories he told me about the Xbox, which I didn't know at all. When he came in as CEO, Bill Gates had already said, I'm super excited about the Xbox. We're doing this.
Really?
But it was actually Steve Ballmer's call. Are we going to do this or not? And he conducted a 6-month business review with Robbie Bach and a couple other people. And Ballmer said, it was my call. Like if I had said after the business review, I don't think we should do this, we weren't going to do it.
Well, he was a CEO by then. So
he was a CEO. And this was one of his very first big decisions as a CEO. Like, do we spend a ton of money and take on Sony in the living room?
And I wonder, had they known what a deficit it would have been for so long, if they would have said yes, but maybe. That's a gutsy move, a Ballmery.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You did talk about that.
Yeah, we did. We talked a lot about that because he said he decided that he really trusted the team who was building the Xbox with Robbie Bach and his minions and other engineers. And so he just said to them, you go build the right thing for the market, and I'll have your back, basically. And when it started, being apparent that they were going to take a loss on the console because they were in a price war with Sony, Ballmer just said, guys, I've got this under control. I know this is going to happen. Take it easy. And he just stuck with them every step of the way. Robbie Bach told me, no matter what was going on, Steve just said, look, just do this, make it excellent. And I know we're going to lose money at this point, and I wish we weren't going to lose money, but we are. And so he did tell me that his regret around the Xbox was it took them a while to become profitable. He said, I wish we could have been profitable faster, obviously. And I wish we could be at the point architecture-wise where we are with the Xbox One.
Yes.
And I wish we could have gotten there sooner.
Yes.
But otherwise, he said, I think we did the right thing, and I'm really glad we got in the console market and into the living room that way.
Just a step back. Is Satya Nadella and Robbie Bach, are they in the room right now, or?
No. So
this was later that you got to talk to them.
Right. Well, actually, this is interesting. I got to interview Robbie and Brad Smith first. Then I interviewed
Brad Smith,
Steve,
who's chief counsel.
Right. Then Steve was after that, and then Satya was the last interview.
I wonder if they're warming you up, because Robbie's obviously telling you the story of Xbox and what a great job the boss did by green-lighting this. And, of course, there's a reason why you meet with the chief counsel before you meet with the CEO, I would imagine.
I got to say, though, I don't know if you remember, but when Robbie Bach left a couple years ago, there was a lot of rumor that Ballmer had fired him.
Right.
And that he had been let go because they were unhappy with things like the Zune and the Kin and the Windows Phone. But I thought it was very interesting that he agreed to talk to me, and that he was very, very bullish about Steve's role. Because if this was the guy who fired you, I don't think you'd be that bullish.
Or maybe they'd kissed and made up. So he's back at Microsoft now, right?
No, he's not.
He's not.
No, Robbie Bach.
That's a very puzzling thing then, to bring him in.
Well, they wanted to bring somebody in who actually could talk about what Ballmer did on the Xbox. So the people who are running Xbox now at Microsoft, they really weren't there then. Right. So they wanted to give me somebody who actually could talk about, this is what happened. Like Steve and I were in a room, and here's what we talked about, and actually give me the firsthand story, instead of somebody who said, I heard he was working with Robbie Bach, know. So
this is interesting. This sounds like a very concerted media effort.
It was. Yeah, it definitely was.
Very orchestrated.
Very definitely orchestrated. But I got to say, when you're doing an interview with a CEO of a top Fortune 50 company, it's pretty much always orchestrated.
That's right. That's why I don't do it, because it's rare that you'll get them to say anything that's not carefully planned and so forth. It sounds like you did get a little bit of a relaxed Ballmer. Do you think it's telling that you talked to Satya Nadella after Ballmer, as if, and now let us introduce you to the next CEO of Microsoft?
Yeah, I don't know. I hadn't really thought of it that way. I think my conversation with Satya was very much focused again on like what Ballmer's legacy was.
Okay.
It wasn't about, if you were CEO, what would you do? That wasn't the conversation we had.
This was really the focus, was Steve Ballmer. This is background.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's good because, everybody's so focused right now. All the people who watch Microsoft are so focused on who's the next CEO, who's the next CEO. But I don't see a lot of people actually focusing a lot on, okay, what did Ballmer bring to the company that's going to persist after the new CEO takes over? And that's what I was trying to tell in my story.
Yeah, and maybe this was an attempt by Microsoft, or at least by Steve, to say, "Hey, wait a minute, I would like the victory lap that Bill Gates had."
Yeah, if I were him, I would want that too. And I think Microsoft knew the people in charge of the handlers and the people who get to pick who gets the interview. They know I actually am a pretty big Steve B fan. And I've made it very clear in my blog that, I agree. He's made some pretty bad mistakes. But I think he's done a lot of things that have allowed the company to stay profitable, even when a lot of the market dynamics and the competitive dynamics have changed. I mean, people are still paying for Windows and Office, even though there are free alternatives out there.
Right.
That's a pretty good trick to do as the CEO and convince people to do that.
Well, they also know that you are, and you're seen as
very objective about Microsoft, sometimes very hard on Microsoft.
Yeah. So
it's not a puff piece. They know that they can go and say, look, we brought in somebody who's tough and fair, and gave her a chance to talk to Mr. Ballmer.
The hardest part for me in this, and I hope I pulled this off in this story, is I tried to go in with no preconceived notions and tried not to go in and write the same story everybody else is writing about. Oh, he screwed up on mobile. Right. They missed this, they missed that. And I'm like, all right, let me focus on what actually he did at the company that's going to persist as they move forward.
Good.
So I tried. I gave my best shot.
Do you feel successful at that?
Yeah, I think I did a service in that I told a story that needed to be told.
Yeah.
So I feel good.
So he brought business rigor to Microsoft. You said that was it Robbie Bach or Nadella said that, I think it was Nadella that said if you come to Steve to talk about something, you better have all the details, all the facts at your fingertips. He was detail oriented.
Yeah, very detail oriented. And Nadella told me some stories that I haven't actually fully fleshed out yet in my blog. But he talked about if you come to Steve with some idea that he thinks is nuts, he'll just go off on you and just say, "What are you trying to do? You're crazy." The old way Bill Gates used to scream at people in meetings. He said, "Yeah, Ballmer does that too."
Interesting.
But he said the funny part is sometimes you bring an idea to Steve Ballmer and he says, "Oh, ridiculous. We're not doing that." And he said a couple weeks later, he'll go, "You know what? I have an idea."
I have never heard of a CEO who doesn't do that. They used to say the same rap about Steve Jobs. Exactly.
Did they?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. I just thought of something. I was in the shower. It came to me.
Exactly. Yeah.
I probably do that too, come to think of it.
Probably everybody in
does.
Power does.
Yeah.
Another really funny story that Nadella told me was he said, do you know about Steve's shoe thing? And I'm like, what shoe thing? And he said, oh, he has this thing where whenever he meets someone, he remembers forever what the pair of shoes were that you were wearing when he met you.
Wow.
I know. It must be some memory thing for helping him remember names because he's amazing at remembering names.
Interesting.
It's a
trick he does, probably.
Exactly.
Yeah. And what kind of shoes were you wearing?
I know. That's the first thing. I was like, what am I wearing?
I'm so embarrassed. I wear scuffed up, ratty little shoes but you know what? He's of the generation, as I am, where you were always taught shoes make the man, a well-shined pair of shoes. You don't go to a business meeting without having which always seems strange to me.
I know, even in tech, right, where people kind of dress down.
Yeah, that your shoes matter.
I know.
That's a very interesting detail.
It was a little weird detail, yeah. But we also talked a lot, and this I really want to bring out because Nadella, he hasn't worked directly for Steve very long, I think 2 or 3 years. And he talked a lot about, a lot of people think Ballmer is kind of like too focused in the past, but he said every time I meet with him, he never wants to talk about like the details I think he would want to talk about. Instead, he's always saying, what are we going to do next? Like, what's the next thing we're going to do? And he said that's something a lot of people don't get about him, that he's not all mired in the past, the way his public image sometimes is
good
portrayed.
CEO never looks back. I've really learned that.
Really?
It's just a waste of energy. Well, what are you going to do? I mean, maybe, I guess, learn the lessons, but you've got to be thinking forward because otherwise you really can get bogged down in, what did I do wrong? And it's not useful. It's not productive. No. So I think that's actually a trait of a good CEO, looking forward-looking. I would like to point out what Bill Gates is doing these days. He's putting stuffed cows.
All right.
So
actually, we should have commented on this because I saw this. Bill Gates, imagine you're whoever you are. Doesn't matter what status you are in life, but Bill Gates is your Secret Santa. Clearly you're getting a Maserati.
No.
Clearly you're getting...
No. He donated a $500 cow to Heifer International. That's a good donation.
Get like a
Gave a cow to a poor family. Well, you get the stuffed cow, but a poor family gets the donation. A donation to Heifer International. I've done this before. I've given a goat. Has been given in your honor thanks to the giving spirit that you inspired. Hardworking families in need around the world will now have regular meals, a stable income, and the pride of passing on the gift of their achievements and knowledge to others. So Bill Gates, there's apparently a Secret Santa thing on Reddit. Reddit gifts. And imagine, if you will, the young woman who drew Bill Gates as her Secret Santa.
I know. It's crazy.
Her name, Rachel. To Rachel, my Secret Santa present to you is a cow. Don't worry, you will not have to build a barn. The cow will be given to a family in need. Happy holiday, Bill Gates.
It's a Microsoft cow. It's going to be updated regularly with new meat.
Having received this, I would perhaps doubt that it's in fact Bill Gates, except Bill, knowing that this would be a problem, took to a Reddit tradition and actually sent a picture of himself with the stuffed cow and the certificate, proving, unless this is an extremely adept Photoshop, that he did in fact send Rachel.
I think we can attest that this is.
But why is Bill Gates doing the Secret Santa, Reddit Secret Santa? That's strange.
He's got a lot of free time now.
That's just odd.
You know?
It is odd.
And it looks like he kind of did it himself. Here's the card to Rachel from Bill. I think that's Bill's handwriting.
It's like a kid's Valentine's Day card, you know, from grade school.
That is so weird. There's Rachel with her. He also sent her a National Geographic coffee table book.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really amazing.
Yep.
It's really amazing. So I think we can give credence to the rumors that he will be off the board any day now. He's got bigger fish to fry.
He'll be in a home soon.
You're right, though. What you would expect if Bill Gates were your Secret Santa.
It's like, here we go. I just hit the lottery.
I guess we couldn't really end the show without a beer of the week.
Yeah. So my beer pick of the week, I'm gonna go out on a limb and do this because I had fun. I tweeted about this earlier. There's a site called Untapped, untappd.com, where you can keep track of all your beer picks and all. But there is a Windows Phone 8 app that matches up with this that we've talked about a little on the show before called Beer. So yeah, I'm going through my beer challenge that I talked about last week.
How's that going, by the way? I'm surprised you're not drunk.
Godspeed, by the way.
So for those who don't know, 40 beers in 30 days.
Yeah, 40 beer styles in 30 days. It's Control plus Alt plus Del. Control Alt Delete. That's a real beer name from Davidson Brothers. Beer challenge is going well. I've done 21.
21 out of
40.
40
styles.
And how many days are 17th day of the month?
Yeah.
So you're right on pace.
This is for Paul Thoreau.
It is. Look at
pick.
this.
The pick is Brooklyn Black Ops. That is a real beer, everyone. Cuvée des Trolls. Because who doesn't need more trolls in their life?
Trolls. As long as you don't actually encounter them in real life, they're a good thing.
At Grimm Brothers Brewery in Colorado, we have a listener, Paul Ferguson, who's one of the marketing directors there, and he shipped me this beer called Grimm Brothers Little Red Cap. Black and blue, because I needed something with blue in the name. So I picked Black and Blue from Dogfish Head. So I picked a Seattle beer, Pike Place Kilt Lifter. It's called the Kilt Lifter because it's a Scotch ale. The single cut beer smiths, they have something called Eric, more cowbell. It's a milk stout. And that's the cowbell reference. Harpoon's El Triunfo Coffee Porter. So this is a beer that tastes like coffee.
And your beer is from Unibrow, which is an interesting place. I had one, but then I had it removed.
Yes. They make great beer, by the way.
It's probably Unibrow.
Yes.
Is it French?
French-Canadian. They're in Quebec.
Quebec.
And in fact, let me, I'm forgetting the beer I drink most frequently from them is Le Fin du Monde, which is actually behind me.
Oh, it's from the Fin du Monde people. Okay.
Right. So they make an apple beer that we were in Whole Foods the other night. I bought some Delirium Tremens, which is my favorite beer.
Wonderful beer.
But they had some of the apple beer from these guys, which I don't see that frequently. So,
is it a beer or is it like a cider?
Oh, it's a beer. It's an apple.
It's brewed
beer.
with apple must to give it an appley kind of.
Yeah, no, it's apple. It's apple beer. There's no doubt about it.
Huh? It's called Éphémère apple.
So there are bad beers in the world, right? A lot of little craft breweries that make like a blueberry beer or a strawberry beer or something, and it's like this gross,
don't do
syrup crap.
Yeah.
This is actually, I like this one. I mean, I really, again, not for everybody necessarily, but it's a good one.
I picked another Irish beer called the Porterhouse Oyster Stout from Porterhouse Brewing in Ireland. Last night, I got to claim my mug from the beer challenge.
You got it.
Got it. And so
what took so long?
I did. I put a picture on Twitter.
Good.
It takes a while because they had to inscribe my mug. And so I had to pick what's going to be the first beer in my mug. And last night at Rattle and Hum, they had some really good Bear Republic beers on tap. And they had this really interesting one I had never heard of called Cuvée de Bubba.
You got to love that.
And so that's what I got in my mug as my first beer. And what it is it's a sour beer. This could not be a more perfect beer. Blue Sunday Sour is the name of the beer. Think about it. Blue leaked on Sunday, sour faces in Redmond.
Oh.
How perfect.
Oh.
The beer pick of the week is from Omegang Brewery, which is in New York. And it's the Beer of Thrones beer, the first one in their series, and it's the Iron Throne. What would be a good Gemini-related code name? How about Evil Twin?
You're good. This just proves there's a beer for every
There is a beer for every
moment.
occasion. So Evil Twin Brewing is this great brewery in Denmark, and their beer is pretty readily available everywhere in bottles. I had some this weekend. They're from a brewery in San Leandro called Drake's Brewing, and the beer is called Apocalypse, which is a really awesome name.
99, the rating from ratebeer.com.
Yeah.
Wow.
Beer pick of the week is something I got to try this week from Mikkeller. I probably am not pronouncing this correctly. It's a Dutch word, Mikkeller. They're a really well-known craft brewery, and they're doing this new series called the Yeast Series 2.0. So it's not just tech that does 2.0. It's beer, too. I had to do a color. We've been doing a lot of blue, so I said, let's do pink this week.
Windows pink.
Yes, there really is a beer called Pink IPA, believe it or not.
It's not pink colored, is it?
It is pink. It's lightly tinged pink, but more like orange. And the reason it's pink, it's from a brewery called Almond 22 in Italy. But even though it's from Italy, it's pretty easy to find in bottles here in New York. I don't know if it's as easy to find everywhere else. But it's pink because they brewed it with pink peppercorns.
Oh, that's different.
In honor of the 3%ers, us Windows Phone users, I decided to pick a beer that has 3 in it. So I picked the 3 Floyds Gumball Head as my beer pick of the week. Yes, my beer pick of the week comes from Seattle this week because I haven't done one from Seattle lately. And it's from an awesome brewery in Seattle called Elysian Brewing. And their beers are available all over the U.S. Their beer that I drank this past week was called Super Fuzz.
Ooh.
It was really good. It's a pale ale, but it's flavored with blood orange.
Oh, I love blood orange.
I can't remember if I picked this beer before, but I had it this week, and it was so awesome. It's called Black and Blue.
This is how you've made Paul and Mary Jo feel. Black and blue.
We're feeling blue.
Yeah. Yep.
So
Mission
Black and Blue is
accomplished.
from Dogfish Head, and they're a brewery out in Delaware. This is a beer made with blackberries and blueberries.
Oh, it's weird.
Wow. It's so good. Not too far from Twit is one of the best craft breweries in America called Russian River Brewing. I've been there with Ayaz and Alex. And I couldn't pick just one beer because I wanted to pick something for the Xbox team having to do their sad deed this week. So I picked 2, Redemption and Rejection.
Very appropriate.
Beer pick of the week is from Houston, a brewery in Houston called Karbach, 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 I think. And the beer pick was something Paul would hate because it's super hoppy. It's called Hop Delusion. 100 IBUs, very, very, very hoppy. The Flying Dog Pineapple Saison. It's a Saison style beer, or kind of like a bubble gumish flavored, kind of fun. That's what Saisons are, kind of. They have that bubblegum flavor, which is weird. This is a fun one. So we talked at the beginning of the show about Lumia 20, the 1020, the Lumia 1020. And the code name of that device was EOS.
Which was unfortunate because that's what Canon calls its DSLRs. But
yeah. But I actually found a beer that has EOS in the name for the beer pick of the week. Yes. Nebraska Brewing EOS Wheat.
It is IPA Day today. Happy IPA Day.
Thanks. It is. It actually is. It's a holiday.
So who said that and why?
I don't know. I
Who
guess
named it?
This is like the devil's Christmas.
It is. Yeah, because Paul hates IPAs.
You don't like IPAs? What? They're very hoppy, right? What is it makes an IPA?
Yeah, too hoppy.
Extra hoppy. Extra hoppy. Yep. Okay. And I don't know when. Well, I know when this started. Now, and I don't even think it's National IPA Day. It's just called IPA Day. It started in 2011. That was the first time it was celebrated, and now it's become this annual thing to celebrate the delicious and varied IPAs all over the world.
We have an excellent IPA here from
you do.
It's just a very good IPA.
You guys have the I think the hoppiest and best IPAs that I've ever had. Whoa. But
that means Paul would love it.
I know. So I picked the hoppiest IPA I could find for the beer pick of the week, which is Stone Ruin 10 IPA. The Westbrook White Tie.
And the tie is THAI.
THAI. It's a beer that's a wit beer. And, most wit beers are made with orange and coriander, and they're kind of like a Blue Moon, right? But this one is made with lemongrass and ginger instead. Ooh. So if you're eating Asian-type cuisine, you might like this with that because it really kind of accents the flavors and picks it up. Did you know, Leo, that August 13th was Left-Handers Day, International Left-Handers?
Why didn't?
Yes.
Did not? I must have dropped off the Left-Handers mailing list.
I guess you did.
Shocked.
Yep. So in honor of Left-Handers Day, I picked as my beer pick Left Hand Milk Stout. So Left Hand Brewing makes a lot of really good beers, and Milk Stout is delicious. It's a stout that they brew with lactose milk sugar at the end, and it gives it a nice creamy, almost like a milk-like feel and taste, but in a good way, in a beer.
Oh my God.
Luckily, at my local Rattle and Hum, they had Founders KBS, which is the Kentucky Breakfast Stout. It's like one of the best Founders beers ever. It's a imperial stout aged in oak bourbon barrels. And
that sounds good.
Amazing. It's not for the faint of heart because it's like 11.2%. It's called Let's Pour, LETSPOUR.com. And it's a really interesting site. You can go on and, because wherever you live, you can't always get craft beers from all over the place. So this lets you handpick beers from breweries where you can't get them at home, and you can have them shipped to yourself, and there's all these kinds of deals on shipping.
It's like Whoop for beer.
Ayaz will really like this pick because I know you're a hophead like I am.
I am.
Okay, so I've talked about Pliny before as my beer pick of the week. That's a West Coast version of an Imperial IPA, but there's an East Coast version. It's called Heady Topper, and it's from a brewery in Vermont called The Alchemist. And it's somewhat hard to get because they don't make a lot of it. So if you're in Vermont, it's pretty easy to find it, relatively easy, I should say. But every once in a while, cans of this make it out of Vermont, and sometimes people go up and pick up growlers too. But if you ever have a chance to get this beer, it's rated at 100 on Beer Advocate as like a perfect beer. I picked a beer from Brooklyn called 6 Point Autumn Nation, and this is a really interesting beer. This is the second time I think they've brewed it. And last year they made it a pumpkin beer when they brewed this at 6 Point. But this year they decided no pumpkin. Instead, we're going to make it a wet hopped beer, which means they take the hops without drying them and they throw them into the beer when they're making it. And it gives the beer a really, really fresh taste. From Big Dog Brewing called Big Dog's Holy Cow.
Oh, wait. Was this IPA thing that you...
It was a pale ale. You hated it. He hated it because he hates bitter and hoppy. But
my mouth still hurts.
Yeah. Paul did not like this one, but I actually thought it was pretty good. Pumpkin beers are very polarizing. People either love or hate them, and a lot of people like the ones that taste like pumpkin pie. I'm not in that camp. I like the ones that don't really have too many spices. So my pick is...
It's not got too much pumpkin in it.
It's got...
No,
well,
it's
my
not
pick
pumpkin. It's spice.
It's the allspice. It's the pumpkin spice.
Problem is most pumpkin beers are not pumpkin. There's spice.
Is there pumpkin in it? There's no pumpkin.
Yeah.
No, there is.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
My pick is one that actually isn't so overwhelmed by the spices. It's Shipyard Smashed Pumpkin. I don't think I've ever done a gluten-free beer pick of the week, but there are people who cannot drink beers, regular beers, because they have celiac disease, they're gluten intolerant, or other reasons.
So beer's not made with wheat necessarily, but it's made with barley and hops.
Right.
Does barley have gluten?
That's a very good question. I think it does. I believe it does.
Okay.
But
So this is
beer's
made with sorghum.
Sorghum.
If you've ever wondered what sorghum is.
Now you know.
Well, no, you don't know. But at least you know what you can do with it.
Yeah, you don't want to know, right?
Wow.
I had a taste of this beer. It's a beer called Alchemist Celia Saison. I had it this week because one of my sisters actually is gluten intolerant, and she wanted to drink a beer. So this is a really decent choice. It's a Belgian-style Saison. They make it with sorghum. It's made by Alchemy Brewing. I think they do it with Ipswich Brewing as a partnership. Beer pick this week, something from Harpoon. It's called the Director's Cut. And what it is, it's kind of like
all
a
the
black
hops
and
they made
tan.
us cut out from the original.
No, you know it's the weirdest thing. It's a pale ale and a stout mixed together in a beer.
Mary Jo has picked inadvertently Paul's favorite beer.
I know. Is this really your favorite beer, Paul?
I think I like Le Chouffe better, but this is basically like a darker version of the beer behind me, the Le Fin du Monde. They're very similar.
Right. It's from the same brewery, Unibrow, in Quebec. And the beer of the week is Maudite. Is that correct, Leo, on my pronunciation?
Is it French? Is it Flemish? I don't know.
I bet it's
French.
I don't know. Unibrow is Flemish.
Oh, is it? Oh.
Yeah, we should ask.
Well, they're French Canadian, though. I mean.
Oh, it's French Canadian? Okay. So,
yeah.
And they're making a play on, Unibrow. So.
Right.
Unibrow Maudite, if it's French, Maudite would be correct, yeah.
So Maudite means like cursed and damned, doesn't it?
Wow. Does it?
I believe.
I got to get
French,
Frederic in here. We've got our own tame Belgian right here in the studio.
Yeah, we were looking for a beer that was kind of a Halloween theme, so curse seemed kind of good. And this is a Belgian strong dark. It's like 8%. It tastes delicious. It tastes like fruits, like figs and raisins.
Curse. It's a verb to curse or damn someone.
So, it's a good beer for Halloween, right?
Holy moly, yeah. Here comes Halloween.
It's very good.
Yeah,
it's very strong.
Yep.
And it's very tasty. It's got all those nice fruits.
Yep. So you can find this at Whole Foods or any good beer place.
It's a dark hoppy brew.
Yeah, not so hoppy. More just
hoppy.
like I don't know how I would describe it. More like a typical
right there.
dark
It's a
beer.
Belgian. It's a Belgian strong ale. It's a dark Belgian.
I've got to explain the name on this beer because it's very odd. The beer is by Elysian Brewing in Seattle. It's called Men's Room Red, and the reason I picked this beer is in honor of Veterans Day, which was this week, and here's why. Elysian Men's Room Red. A portion of the net proceeds go to helping support families of military vets in the Virginia Puget Sound area.
Oh, that's great.
Yep. And the name comes from the Men's Room Original Red was brewed for the Men's Room radio show on 99.9 Rock of Seattle, KISW. So it's got a very unappealing name.
No kidding.
Men's Room Red. But it's very good. I've had it before. It's an amber. If you like ambers, it's very tasty.
Speaking of head, it's time for some beer.
Nice segue there. I like that.
He is the master.
So since I had all those red devices this week, I had, the Lumia tablet, I had the red phone. I said, let me pick a red beer for the beer pick of the week. So I went with the Anchor Big Leaf Maple Autumn Red.
Anchor does a lot of red ales.
They do. And this one has maple syrup in it, which is pretty cool.
The Anchor is a San Francisco, one of the early San Francisco craft brewers.
Indeed, they were. And I had a taste of this recently. It was very good. It had caramel malts, but typical red, very caramely. Had some good hops in it too, but not overly hoppy. So even Paul Thurrott would like it. So that's my beer pick, just because I wanted to pick something red.
Actually, I was thinking of you the other night. Someone was trying to explain to me that because I liked wines that have lots of tannins in them, that I should like beers that have lots of hops in them because these things are somehow similar.
Tannins are to wine as beer.
And I stopped short of slapping this person in the face, but I did tell them under no uncertain terms.
Oh.
That's
not related.
So my beer pick of the week has a story too. My beer pick of the week is from Jack's Abbey Brewing, which happens to be in Framingham, Mass., which is the town next to where I grew up, Ashland, Mass. I, over the Thanksgiving weekend, went to Jack's Abbey because I was home. My brother brought me there. And while I was in the tap room checking out the beer picks and checking out some samples, a Windows Weekly listener happened to be in there. I'm not making this up. And so my brother and I are sitting there having beer samples, and this guy comes up and he says, "Hey, aren't you Mary Jo Foley from Windows Weekly?" I said, "I am." And he said, "Oh, I love Hadoop."
You're lying.
Right, no,
this is made up.
This
This
story is
can't
no longer-
possibly
it's
be
no longer
true.
believable.
Steve, who was there filling his growlers, I won't use his last name in case he wants to remain anonymous. Yes, he did say that. And my brother, who's a carpenter, when we left, said, "What the heck is a Hadoop?" I have no idea.
Well, that's it. That's a join for you got your 3x8 and your
Yeah.
2x4, and when you have to merge the two, you get your Hadoop there. That is an
Yeah,
adapter.
It was
I
like
should've
the
said
elephant-like thing that was in that Cat in the Hat story.
It's a Hadoop.
So yeah, the beer I really liked, and Steve did as well. It's called a Wicked Hoppy Lager.
Yeah,
Paul Thoreau.
yeah. It's wicked happy.
It's not that hoppy. I think
the
you
insides
would
of
like-
my cheeks just sucked in a little when you said that.
I think you would like this. It's a lager, not an ale. It does have a high IBU count on it, but I actually didn't think it was that hoppy. It's called an American Pale Lager. That's their categorization. The name of the beer is Hoponius Union from Jack's Abbey. Beer pick of the week. And Paul might even like this one.
I love this brewery, by the way.
Oh,
Yes.
he's a Belgian.
No, I mean
he's a Belgian kind of guy.
This is like upstate New York, right?
It is. This is
Yeah, these guys
Omegang
make an amazing Belgian. Oh, maybe this is it.
Yep. This may be it. So Omegang Brewery, Cooperstown, New York. They make a lot of really excellent beers. And my pick today is the Quad, which is very famous. It's called Three Philosophers. And I've never had it until this past week, which is crazy. I've seen it so many times, but I had it on tap this week, and it was so awesome. It's got a little cherry in it. And a Quad is just basically a very sweet, low bitterness kind of beer, but usually very high in alcohol, like 9 to 13% typically. And the Quads were originally brewed by the Trappist brewers in Belgium. Yep. And this would be, if I was thinking of a great holiday beer, I would definitely go with Three Philosophers if you see it anywhere. It's really, really great.
Neat. Little bitey there for tweet, tweet.
So I'm working in my office today, and my cat's in the window, and I hear these birds outside freaking out. And you know how you hear background noise, and then eventually you're like, what the hell is going on out there? And I can see these two cardinals chasing a bird around, a little bird. So I go outside to shoo him away. And this little bird drops out of the tree and lands like in the ground next to me. So I pick it up, and that's the bird. So I'm thinking I'm saving this bird from the cardinal, you know. So I bring my wife over, take a couple pictures. This thing never leaves my hand. That's a baby cardinal. Right, exactly. Stephanie's like, you didn't just save this bird. You just kidnapped it. So,
but it's
I brought
not bright red.
No, but yeah, the more you look at it, the more you realize it is
cardinal.
actually kind
Look
of
at
reddish,
it.
and
Yeah.
it's got like
It's
the little
got the
crest.
comb.
You know?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, no, it
The
looks
funny
like-
thing is, though, this thing, I put it down on the ground and I shoot it out of my hand, and it actually walked back into my hand. I had to leave it there.
I got bad news for you. It's imprinted.
Yeah.
You're
Now
in
I'm the
trouble.
daddy, yeah.
Uh-huh. You're the daddy. Who's the daddy? You're the daddy.
So I'm hoping they've stopped freaking out there, but I hope they've returned
It's that
him
time
over.
of year.
Yeah.
It's that time of year. We have found a little blue jay. I wonder if blue jays are ground nesters because he was sitting in the weeds.
We've had birds nest in our mailbox twice, which is hilarious.
Wow.
We have like a crook in our little tree out front that there were babies in there. We check on them every couple of days with the flashlight. You know, I put my daughter up on my shoulders, and we checked yesterday and they were gone. So they've flown out. We missed them. We missed seeing them leave, but they took off, I guess.
And how are the pigeons for you, Mary Jo?
They're just fine. They're not in my hand. Definitely not in my hand.
No, you don't want to touch them.
No, you know what pigeons do when you go too close.
I know. You know, people talk about rats with wings and stuff like that, and how don't touch pigeons. But are they any dirtier than any other bird?
Good question.
You should see my daughter. Are they any cleaner than a child?
That's a good point. Good point.
You know,
good point. Yeah.
No, the thing that's scary around here are squirrels. Squirrels are so tame here. They come running after you. They even have chased me down the street before.
Oh, yeah. Well,
and you don't want them on you either.
They're going for your nuts.
Oh, well.
Oh, there you go.
They're going to be sorely disappointed in my case.
That shut her right up.
I'm so sorry.
Okay, let's get this show on the road now that Leo has gone and derailed it again. Oh, it's a fun show.
Matlock. Oh boy.
I'm glad you got that out of you there.
Oh, I don't know what.
You can't do that on a plane. They won't. They'll take you off.
Oh my God.
They'll be like, "Who is this guy?"
You know what's funny, Paul? Is your camera was jiggling because the laptop was just going. It was great. I love it.
That's great.
It was great. It was great.
I'll be okay.
Yeah. Well, I hope you've enjoyed as much as I have. You know, Angry Birds is available on Windows Phone now. I hope you've enjoyed as much as I have this look back at 2013 and Windows Weekly. We'll be back next year, isn't it? We'll be January 2nd. Our new date will start January 6th with Windows Weekly. And Chad is going to tell me when that is because I don't remember. I'm going to have to put this all on my calendar so I show up at the right time. I think it's Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1900 UTC. Join us, won't you? We'll be back at our regular Thursday time, January 2nd, and then starting at our new time the week of January. I guess that'll be January 8th. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time on Windows Weekly.